Chapter 1007. Is the person down there the president? West asked. Looks like, maybe. Klaus couldn't be sure either. The atmosphere on the helicopter turned heavy. The helicopter landed slowly and a group of people walked toward Qinzhao. How is it? Scared now? Bona Twain looked at Qinzhao proudly. Lit Grove was excited too. Seeing Klaus and the others fully armed, he felt like he'd found his support. Qinzhao rubbed his nose and watched them run over. How did you know I was here? West glanced at Lit Grove and Bona Twain. President? Lit Grove and Bona Twain's expressions froze instantly. Before the pride and happiness could fade from their faces, they heard West's words and felt like they'd been struck by lightning. President? He's the president of the supernatural organization? At that moment, the two felt like the sky had collapsed. President, the two of them? West looked at the two ashen-faced men. One is my student, but on the first day we met he found someone to beat me up. As for this girl, she's going to stand up for him. West and the others covered their heads. The two were asking for death. They could have offended anyone, but they had to offend Qinzhao. At the moment, the two were completely dumbfounded. They'd only joined the supernatural organization 2 days ago. However, they had heard a lot of legends about this president. For example, narrow-mindedness, brutality, and terror. In the supernatural organization, the president was like a demon king. Every time they asked for information about the president that they had never met before, the members of the association all revealed a look of fear. Their eyes were filled with respect and their tone was careful. Now, they finally confirmed that the scary guy before them was the president of the supernatural organization. President, I haven't had the time to tell you yet. The two of them just joined our association yesterday and are now our temporary members. Qinzhao narrowed his eyes at the two. The two looked at Qinzhao, trembling. They waited for Qinzhao's judgment. Right now, they were panicking to the extreme. They'd thought that the people from the organization would save them. But after coming here, they realized that Qinzhao was the real boss. Unknowingly, they had become Qinzhao's subordinates. But they still provoked him. Come on, let's enter the mountain. Guild leader, should we leave now? West asked. They were fully armed. They had thought that there would be a big battle, so facing Qinzhao like this was too awkward. If Qinzhao was unhappy, they would be in trouble too. Before you came, you treated me as an enemy, right? No, absolutely not. West quickly waved his hands. That's good. Since you're here, let's go meet an old friend. President, I don't think there are any old friends in this mountain. Have you forgotten? Those crypt demons. Are you guys unwilling to go? No, I'm definitely willing to go, West answered with a sad face. Let's go. We won't lose the helicopter if we leave it here, right? The group entered the mountains. Qinzhao thought it was an outing, but the others weren't so free. Their hearts were heavy, and their footsteps were heavy. It was the same for Lit Grove and Bona Twain. They didn't even know where they were going. Mr. West, where are we going now? The entrance to hell. West glanced at the two, annoyed. Mr. West, Mr. Jim, President isn't going to kill us, right? I want to kill you too right now, West said, gritting his teeth. West, what exactly are those crypt demons? Klaus asked. A bunch of scary monsters, West said. But we'll be fine as long as we follow the president. Back then, he killed so many monsters that they were all scared. I hope he won't feed them to the crypt demons. Hearing West's words, the two's legs turned to jelly. How are they compared to the monsters in the Tower of Trials? Klaus asked. They're stronger than the monsters on the first level, West said. And much stronger. What's the Tower of Trials? Bona Twain asked curiously. Why are you asking so many questions? You should think about how to make the president forgive you first. Will he kill us? If he wants to, he would have done it long ago. Do you think you can still stand here? Finally, they reached the entrance to the underground relic. President, are we really going in? After entering the relic, the atmosphere immediately became oppressive and heavy. President, I feel something in the darkness. Yeah, the crypt demons have already discovered us. They're watching us in the darkness. Will they attack us? No, Qinzhao said. They recognized me. Everyone looked at Qin Zhao with a strange expression. At this moment, a figure appeared in the darkness and blocked their path. Hum, hum, hum. The crypt demon let out a squeak. Everyone was ready to fight. Chen Zhao walked toward the crypt demon indifferently. The demon was even more nervous than the people behind Chen Zhao. It took 2 steps back. Lit Grove and Bona Twain looked behind Chen Zhao. As expected of a demon king. Such a monster actually retreated when it saw Chen Zhao. Hey, old friend, I remember you. I think I made that wound on your body. Old friend? They were clearly enemies, right? Chen Zhao didn't know how they communicated. In the end, the crypt demon led the way. When they reached the underground pyramid, Lit Grove and Bona Twain's eyes widened. However, the most terrifying thing was the entrance of the pyramid. Many crypt demons were there. All the crypt demons looked at the intruders with unfriendly gazes. Just then, a female crypt demon walked out of the crypt demons. It seemed that they had a new queen. Chen Zhao walked up and started talking to the queen. Basically, Chen Zhao talked and the crypt demons listened. The crypt demons couldn't speak the human language, but they could understand. Alright, I've already talked to them. You two can stay here. Both of them screamed in pain. 3 days, Chen Zhao said. If you stay here for 3 days, I'll forget about your offense today. Of course, I'm a democratic person. I can reject just like that. We can really reject? Chapter 1008. Chen Zhao left Lit Grove and Bona Twain outside the pyramid. He went into the pyramid to see his old friend. At the top of the pyramid, Chen Zhao saw the old crypt demon. It was the only demon that could communicate with Chen Zhao directly. Of course, it didn't speak with words. It communicated with his mind. Human, why did you come back here? The old crypt demon lay on the ground. After Chen Zhao came, it still didn't move. It was too old, and no one could escape the fate of life, death, illness, and old age. I don't have any bad intentions, Chen Zhao said. I have 2 juniors. I plan to leave them here. Help me scare them. Other than that? Not long ago, I met another crypt demon tribe, Chen Zhao said. They also raised a wild boar monster. Hearing Chen Zhao's description, the old crypt demon stood up abruptly. It didn't have eyes, but Chen Zhao could feel its excitement. There are other races besides us? The old crypt demon asked in disbelief. Is what you said true? And they have Nissan species. Nissan species? What's that? Chen Zhao asked, confused. The wild boar monster you mentioned. We call it Nissan species, the old crypt demon said. The old crypt demon said, they were once specially reared as meat by our race, just like how you humans rear cattle, sheep, and pigs. You know about us humans? A long, long time ago, I once captured a few humans. They were brought before me, and then they died of old age here. I also learned many things about human society from their mouths. How old are you? According to your human calendar, I should be close to 200 years old. The old crypt demon said, can you help us get the Nissan seed? Get the Nissan species? Chen Zhao hesitated. The outside world is now ruled by you humans. If we leave this place, we will definitely be wiped out by you humans. Normally, we can only eat the earth locust or capture you humans. If we have the Nissan species, then we don't have to worry about our food source and we don't have to actively attack you humans. What's an earth locust? This is a creature that hides deep underground. It is also our main source of food. In the past, we ate the Nissan species. Then even if I get the Nissan species here, you guys are just like that? The Nissan also needs to eat. They can eat the earth locust. In fact, in the past, we used to feed the earth locust to the Nissan species, and then the Nissan species used them as meat. I can help you think of something. On behalf of our clan, I would like to express our respect to you and thank you for your help. The civilization of a race was not determined by how smart a single individual was. For a race like the crypt demons, their individual intelligence level wasn't much different from that of humans. But their population was too small, perhaps less than 1,000. Such a number would probably remain the same even after another 10,000 years. Humans were able to reach their current level of civilization because they had a large population and a long time. Chen Zhao wasn't worried that the crypt demons would rule Earth one day. What a joke. If they had such thoughts, they would probably be exterminated the next day. When they left the underground and the darkness, only death awaited them. Plus, they had a strong photophobia. Chen Zhao walked out of the pyramid with a smile. Lit bonus, stay here. I told them that they'll take good care of you. Oh, you still have a chance to taste the crypt demon's special delicacies. Chen Zhao took out an invertebrate that was more than a meter long. It looked like an enlarged earthworm. This is an earth locust. I heard that it's very nutritious. President, I won't do it again. Please spare me. Bona Twain was about to cry. Spare you? That's impossible. Chen Zhao turned and left. Bona Twain wanted to chase after him, but a few crypt demons blocked her way. The others followed behind Chen Zhao. West came to Chen Zhao's side. President, isn't this a bit inappropriate? They're still kids after all. Yeah, I think so too. How about you stay and take care of them? Kids should be taught well in case they don't know their place in the future. President's decision is very wise. I fully support it. Inside the crypt demon relic, the two were already in conflict. It's all your fault, all your fault. Bona Twain pointed at Lit Grove, crying. You said that the president bullied you. Why didn't you say that you provoked him first? Great, now you've dragged me down too. Lit Grove's face was filled with fear. Quite. You'll attract the crypt demon's attention. It's all your fault, all your fault. Ritter Grove felt wronged as well. How could he know that he'd provoked a terrifying demon king? It was too late to say anything now. The searchlights in their hands didn't have much battery left. After a few hours, they were starting to dim. Along the way, no one dared to talk to Chen Zhao. Do you think we should raise a few crypt demons to guard the house? President, will they listen to us? What if they go crazy and kill ordinary people? Whatever, I'm just asking. At the foot of the mountain, they left in a helicopter. On the other hand, Chen Zhao drove back. Lapel, there's a party tonight. Dress up nicely. Hyson, I'm not free tonight, Lapel said. She knew the nature of Hyson's party. She didn't want to dress up and send herself to the tiger's mouth. If she fell into the trap, her life would be over. Lapel, I'm not discussing with you. You have to come tonight. There are many important guests at the party. Don't you want to be in the entertainment industry? If you catch the eye of one or two of them, it's not impossible for you to get a role on the big screen. Many agents use this to trick young and ignorant women. Many women were tricked by this every year. But Lapel knew very well what level Hyson was at. He was just a second-rate model agent. How could he know any big shots? What kind of high-end party could he attend? Stop joking. There were only a few people in Hollywood who could decide their own roles. Chapter 1009. Hyson, I really don't have time, and I have an interview tomorrow. I need to be in my best condition, Lepore said. Hyson's tone suddenly turned unpleasant. Lepore, are you sure you want to refuse my request? Lepore's expression was a little ugly. After all, if she fell out with Hyson, Hyson would directly freeze her and cut off her path of retreat. Then her life would become very difficult. After all, Hyson had arranged all of her jobs. If Hyson didn't arrange a job for her, Lepore would have nothing to eat in 10 days. Hyson, I really can't go. Then forget it. Hyson's tone became cold. Lepore knew that the situation was not good. If she fell out with Hyson, she would have to change an agent. But she was the weaker party. Changing an agent meant that she would have to start all over again. If she was a famous model or artist, many agencies would be willing to sign her. But for an unknown model like Lepore, there were too many beautiful women in Los Angeles who could replace her. Even if she jumped down from the tallest building in Los Angeles, she wouldn't be on the entertainment news. She would most likely be on the social news. Moreover, she was not in the best stage of development. The best stage of development for a model was between 13 and 16 years old. The golden age for a model was between 20 and 25 years old, which was even shorter than the professional lifespan of an athlete. Lepore had been a model since she was a teenager, and she was now 22 years old. If she had to start all over again, her career would probably be greatly affected. After all, other modeling agencies would rather sign new models, who were younger and had more development potential than sign older models like Lapauer, who had no reputation at all. I'll go. Send me the address. Lepore had no choice but to compromise. That's a good girl. You're not young anymore. You should find a way out for yourself. Lepore was indignant, but she had no other choice. However, if she went alone, she would definitely be sending herself into a tiger's mouth. But who should she find to go with her? After thinking for a while, Lepore suddenly thought of someone. Chen Zhao. He seemed to be a good candidate, but she didn't know if he would be willing to help her. Lepore decided to give it a try. She dialed Chen Zhao's phone number. Hello, teacher, I'm Raphael. What is it? Are you going to pay me back? Raphael curled his lips. Does this guy only remember that I owe him money? Then what is it? Teacher, I have a party and I need a male companion. Not interested. Go find a boy yourself. There should be many boys in school who would be willing to be your partner. Chen Zhao rejected her decisively. In America, which was a country that advocated freedom, teacher-student relationships were taboo. Even if both parties were adults, a teacher-student relationship was not allowed. This was because the United States had a rule called the taboo of power. For example, between a student and a teacher, the teacher would be the one with the power, while the student would be the one being dominated and threatened. Therefore, if a teacher-student relationship was exposed, the lightest punishment would be investigation and punishment by the school. If it was more serious, the school might even prosecute them. Chen Zhao didn't want to lose his reputation just to get Bohr. Teacher, I really need help. I have to go to that party, but it's not safe for me to go alone. What party? Chen Zhao frowned. A party organized by my manager, Raphael said. In other words, I only need to protect you from being harassed by those people? Yes, Raphael answered. Okay, where are you now? Chen Zhao thought about it. Since Raphael really needed help, he had to help as a teacher. I'm at home. After saying goodbye to Fei Lai, Chen Zhao left. Chen Zhao drove to Raphael's house. Raphael's house was a small villa in a high-end neighborhood. The monthly rent was probably a few $1,000s. A while later, Raphael came out. Seeing Chen Zhao's car, his face turned purple. Chen Zhao drove his rural pickup truck. Teacher, is this your car? Don't you have any other cars? Yes, it's not convenient, Chen Zhao replied. After all, he had 2 other cars at home. One was a sports car. Ever since Fei Lai got pregnant, it had been rusting in the garage. Fei Lai usually drove a small truck when she went out. The space inside a sports car wasn't suitable for a pregnant woman. Chen Zhao didn't like to drive sports cars either. He preferred driving a small truck. The other one was an RV, which would be too conspicuous if he drove it out. Unless a family went somewhere to play, they wouldn't drive an RV out. Teacher, your car can't even get past the security guards of the manor, Raphael said helplessly. She'd heard that the party was in Beverly Hills. Are you going to get in my car or not? Never mind. Raphael could only sit in Chen Zhao's car. When they reached the manor, she thought, I'll just have Chen Zhao park the car at the entrance. Raphael only felt that Chen Zhao's driving was steady. The speed was neither fast nor slow. It was so steady that there weren't any bumps. Moreover, Chen Zhao followed all the traffic rules. This was completely different from the American people. Most of the citizens of the United States played the role of traffic rule breakers. As for drunk driving, it was a common occurrence. In the United States, the number of traffic accidents caused by drunk drivers was 10 times that in China. Of course, this was also because America had many cars. Teacher, you must be a boring person. Why do you say that? I can see your personality from the way you drive. You don't have any adventurous spirit. Your daily life must be calm too. You have a good job and live your life peacefully. Really? Chen Zhao always felt that traffic rules should be followed. In accidents caused by breaking traffic rules, it wasn't the person who was hurt the most. It was the other person. Chen Zhao didn't think that he was good at driving. Even if he drove 100 kilometers and crashed into a wall, he might not be hurt. But if he crashed into someone or another car, it was almost murder. A while later, the two arrived at Beverly Hills. What's the address? Chen Zhao asked. Raphael gave him the address. Here. Chapter 10:10. Park the car here, Lepore said. You can't drive in with your car. How about we bet $100? I can drive in. Here's $100. Lepore didn't even think before betting with Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao drove the car to the gate. The servant checking invitations at the door saw Chen Zhao's car and immediately moved aside, letting Chen Zhao in. Chen Zhao turned his head and glanced at Lepore. Thank you for the $100. Lepore was a bit surprised. Is the management here so lax? Chen Zhao would come here once or twice a month. Everyone here knew him, especially when the housekeeper of the Dell family was Mary. Lepore realized that Chen Zhao was very familiar with the place. Usually, when guests came to parties, they would park their cars by the aisle. However, Chen Zhao went straight to the garage. Moreover, he could find the garage precisely in such a large manner. Teacher, you've been here before? Yes, get out. As soon as Chen Zhao got out, Mary appeared in the garage. Hi, darling. Mary glanced at Lepore, who had gotten out of the car, and then looked at Chen Zhao with a dark expression. Chen, who's this woman? You know that she's pregnant, but you can't come out and mess around. Mary, you're mistaken. She's my student. Apart from that, we have nothing to do with each other. Really? Really? Chen Zhao shrugged. I'm here to accompany her to the party. Oh, keep an eye on her later. If anyone harasses her, kick them out. Okay, I'm not here anymore. I still have a lot of things to do. With that, Mary turned and left. Lepore looked at Chen Zhao. Who is she? She's Mary, the housekeeper here. No wonder Chen Zhao was so familiar with the place. He knew the housekeeper, Lepore thought. Lepore arrived at the manor. Looking at the size, she couldn't help but click her tongue. The size of the manor was unimaginably large. Just the swimming pool alone was bigger than the apartment she was renting, not to mention the rest. The owner is very rich, right? A major shareholder of CAA, Chen Zhao said. Lepore was shocked. A major shareholder of CAA was one of the most powerful people in Hollywood. If you're in trouble, go find Mary, Chen Zhao said. I won't stay with you. Where are you going? I'll go greet someone I know. All right then. Chen Zhao went to Risfar's manor. After all, they were already here. Whether it was Dell or Risfar, they had to greet them. Chen Zhao was also familiar with Risfar's family, so he easily entered the house. Hi Chen, why are you here? Risfar had heard from the guard that Chen Zhao was here, so he came out to welcome him. One of my students came to Dell's party, Chen Zhao said. I only found out about Dell's party when I came, so I came to say hi to you. I have to go later. Then let's go together, Risfar said. Is Laura not at home? She took Vera and Ronnie to New York to play. I'm the only one at home. Just then his phone rang. Hey Chen, I heard from Mary that you're here. Where are you now? Why can't I find you? I'm at Risfar's place. We're planning to go together. Oh, then I'll wait for you. With that, Dell hung up. Hyson found Lepore, and when he saw Lepore's exquisite makeup, his eyes couldn't help but light up. Lepore, come here. I'll introduce a few friends to you. Lepore's eyes flashed as she looked at Hyson. She seemed hesitant. You're already here. What are you waiting for? It's good for you to make more friends. Lepore had no choice but to follow Hyson to the garden. There were two people sitting in the garden. When they saw Hyson and Lepore, their eyes lit up. Hi, Mr. White, Mr. Wilson. Hyson went up to greet them. She's Lepore, my model. Hyson tugged at Lepore. Lepore, Mr. White is an independent film director. He's directed several movies. Mr. Wilson is a famous screenwriter. When Raphael heard about independent films, he had already lost interest. What was an independent film? It was an artistic film that broke away from the producer system of Hollywood. It was self-funded and even self-directed. It couldn't be said that independent films had no influence, but they were undeniably a minority. If it were one of the top independent film directors, Lepore might be interested. But this White, she had never heard of him at all. Hyson was telling the truth. White was indeed an independent film director. But to be precise, he was just an assistant director or an assistant director. Miss Lepore, you're really good. Are you interested in entering the big screen? If you are, I can help you choose a few good roles. Lepore, Haven't you always wanted to be in a movie? What are you waiting for? Hurry up and thank Mr. White. Thank you, Mr. White. Miss Lepore, I can also tailor a movie script for you. Why don't we discuss it in depth? White and Wilson took turns to throw sugar-coated bullets at her. Lepore smiled insincerely. She always had an unapproachable attitude. She didn't accept or reject. She offered to give a role and a tailor-made script the first time they met. What did she have to do? It was impossible. Miss Lepore, I've provided scripts to many famous directors. For example, I'm one of the co-writers for Sea Patrol. Many scenes were written by me. Wilson took the initiative to elevate his status. The so-called co-writer was actually a small scriptwriter in the editing team, or even just an assistant scriptwriter. But now, anyone who was even a little bit related to Stephen would become superior. And the two of them often used this to deceive some inexperienced girls. Thank you, Mr. White. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. I still have something to do. I'll leave first. Lepore was sure that the two wanted to trick her. Seeing that Lepore was about to leave, the two's expressions changed. They turned to look at Hyson. Hyson immediately stopped Lepore. Lepore, what are you doing? I asked you to come here to introduce people to you. Is this your attitude? Hyson, I know what you're up to, Lepore said coldly. Chapter 10-11. Lepore turned around and left. Hyson had made it clear. People with different principles could not make plans together. However, Hyson was not willing to be stood up by Lepore. It was a real loss. Lepore, stop. Hyson grabbed Lepore again. Do you want to stay in the modeling circle or not? This was the killer move he used to threaten his models. Hyson couldn't ban Lepore. But for models like Raphael, who was old and had nothing outstanding, it was very likely that he would stay on the runway for a few more years and leave the modeling circle when he was 24 or 25. If a model had been in the industry for 3 years and still wasn't famous, then she might not have the chance to become famous again. Nowadays, all the famous models, without exception, were either 18 or 19 years old, or had become famous when they were 18 or 19. Raphael tried to shake it off, but failed. Let go. Hyson tightened his grip. Lepore, you have to agree today. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Let go. Lepore, do you want to stay in the modeling circle or not? I want to terminate the contract. Terminate the contract? If you want to terminate the contract before the contract expires, you have to pay $200,000. Can you afford it? Just then a voice came. Let go of me. Mary rushed over. Hyson and Lepore were both shocked. Hyson let go of Lepore's hand. What are you doing? Mary shouted. For you. It's none of your business. Hyson looked at Mary, who was wearing a servant's clothes, with disdain. Now, get out of the manor, or I'll throw you out. I was invited here by the owner. Who do you think you are? You won't leave? Don't regret it. Mary looked at Hyson angrily. How dare a servant be so presumptuous? Hyson did not take Mary seriously at all. Lepore, you'd better be sensible. Let's go. Mary pulled Lepore away. You'll regret it, Hyson shouted behind Lepore. Lepore followed Mary, but her heart was heavy. She knew that her career would be very difficult. Miss Mary, where are we going? Find someone who can help you vent your anger, Mary said. Mary led Bob into the drawing room. Mr. Dell, come here. Dell's eyes lit up when he saw Raphael beside Mary. Mary, the girl beside you is so beautiful. Do you want to introduce her to me? Miss Lepore was brought here by Chin. She's his student. Are you sure you want to know her? Forget it. What's the matter? Miss Lepore was bullied just now. Who dares to mess around in my manor? Dell frowned. Mary was a little surprised. This young man was the owner of this manor? From their tone, it seemed that this man was very familiar with his teacher. It's my agent. He wants me to sell my body. What do you do? Model. Aren't you Chen's student? I'm studying at UCLA. Modeling is my part-time job. Dell nodded. What's your agent's name? Hyson. Hyson? I don't know him. How did he get my party invitation? Just then, Chin Zhao and Risvar walked in. Chin, you're here? Dell glanced behind Lepore. Lepore turned around and saw Chen Zhao walking over. Lepore, how come you're here? Aren't you going to get to know the guests? Chin, you're such a terrible teacher, Mary said directly. Your student was bullied. Lepore, what happened? Lowering her head, Lepore told Chen Zhao the whole story. Chen, I had someone throw the 3 guys into the sea to feed the sharks, Risfar said. Lepore looked at Risfar. Who is this guy? Judging from his tone, he sounded like a mafia boss. There's no need. Chen Zhao waved his hand. Don't always think about using violence. The 3 of them were still in the garden. At this moment, a tall woman walked over. Hey, don't you have a girlfriend? The 3's eyes lit up when they saw the woman. Hi, how should I address you? Hyson asked. I'm Merlin, the beauty introduced herself. The 3 also introduced themselves, exaggerating their professions and identities as usual. How about we go somewhere else to drink? Merlin asked in a teasing tone. Hyson and the other 2 didn't suspect anything. They only felt that the woman was truly sexy. Where are we going? Somewhere where there's wine and no one will disturb us, Merlin said. The 3 of them impatiently followed behind Merlin. Merlin turned left and right. Hyson looked around hesitantly. Merlin, you've been here before? Smiling, Merlin said, let's go to the wine cellar. No one will disturb us there. Hyson, White, and Wilson immediately felt their bodies heat up. The lock of the wine cellar seemed to be broken. The 3 followed Merlin into the wine cellar. The wine cellar was filled with the aroma of wine. The racks were filled with all kinds of famous wines. The 3 of them were attracted by the wine. They realized that many of the wines were expensive and famous. Hyson picked up a bottle of wine and sucked in a breath of cold air. This is St. Brandy. This bottle alone costs $200,000. Merlin looked at Hyson. Throw it over and let me have a look. Hyson threw the bottle to Merlin. Merlin purposely missed it. The wine bottle fell to the ground and shattered with a clang. Oh no, let's go. We can't stay here. What are you afraid of? There's so much wine here. Even the owner won't be able to find us. Don't you want to play a game here? The 3 of them felt a little horny. Merlin pointed at a bottle on a rack. Open that bottle. We have a lot of time to play. Open a few more bottles, Merlin said. Let's party to our heart's content. The 3 of them were a little slow in thinking. They enjoyed the wine to their heart's content. I'll go get some food. Wait for me here. I'll be back soon. Merlin licked his lips. Okay, come back quickly. After leaving the wine cellar, Merlin kept her head down and covered her face with her hair. She had to avoid the surveillance camera above her head in case the police found her. Merlin went to a living room on the 3rd floor. Chen Zhao and the others were inside. Mr. Risfar, it's done. Chapter 10-12. Lepore had seen everything happen the whole time. If it were her, she wouldn't spend $200,000, no matter how big of a grudge she had. But the others in the room seemed to take it for granted. Chen Zhao was the one who'd come up with the idea. When Lepore looked at Chen Zhao, she was a little afraid. The wine in the cellar was at least tens of thousands of dollars, and the most was at least hundreds of thousands. Lepore knew very well that the 3 of them were dead for sure. Merlin had left without hesitation. She couldn't afford to offend anyone in the room. Everyone in the room was a man-eating beast. Are you satisfied now that I helped you vent your anger? Chen Zhao asked. Lepore lowered her head. After a while, she said, Hyson has my contract. Leave it to me, Del said. Mary, call the police. The 3 were still in a daze. Hyson asked, why isn't Merlin back yet? The door to the cellar opened and a group of police officers walked in. They saw the broken pieces of wine bottles on the ground and the strong smell of alcohol permeated the air. Mr. Policeman, it's them. They came in here to steal and deliberately destroy the wine storage here. What are you doing? What are you doing? What happened? The 3 immediately resisted, but the police didn't care. They handcuffed them right away. Just then, Del led the way to the 3. Lepore followed behind him. Lepore, what's going on? Gentlemen, you barged into my party and broke the lock of my cellar. You stole from the cellar and caused me great losses. I need compensation, Del said indifferently. Del said calmly. Of course, you can refuse, but I can guarantee that you will return the money to me. The three immediately sobered up. Then they started sweating. They suddenly realized what they'd done. We didn't do it. A woman brought us here. We don't know. Woman? What woman? There's no woman here. It's true. There's really a woman. We were tricked. Hyson suddenly looked at Lepore. It's you. Lepore, is it you? Lepore only smiled and didn't speak. At this moment, Raphael felt very relieved. Who would have thought that Hyson, who used to strut around in front of her, would be in such a sorry state? This is a trap, a fraud. Hyson had already come to his senses. You deliberately lured us here. I'm going to sue you, all of you, and the police. I'm going to file a complaint against you too. Mr. Officer, please take them to the police station. I'll send my lawyer to negotiate with them later, Del said. They basically didn't need to worry about what would happen next. I'll send you back. After everything was over, Qin Zhao drove Raphael home. Raphael did not speak again along the way. Just because of a single conflict, Qin Zhao had caused Hyson and the other two to suffer heavy losses. By the time they left, things had already come to an end. Hyson, who had been unyielding before, returned Lepore's contract to Lapauer. At the same time, he also paid Del $1 million. This made Raphael see Qin Zhao, his teacher, in a new light. It also made her afraid of Qin Zhao. His teacher was far more dangerous than Hyson. When he had money, he would definitely return it as soon as possible. He definitely couldn't be offended. Raphael secretly made up her mind. We're here. Get out. Thank you, teacher. Exhausted, Raphael returned home. However, she was filled with confusion about her future. She was free now, but she didn't have any background. Without an agency or manager, she couldn't even get a job. Of course, she could find a job on her own. But as a model, not to mention whether she was qualified for the job. She couldn't allocate her time. The next day, Raphael seemed to be unaffected by anything. After dressing up carefully, she went out. Baroness Clubhouse was the most high-end clubhouse in Los Angeles. Just the area alone was comparable to a community park. The architectural style was similar to that of medieval Europe, but with a modern aesthetic. Even the celebrities in Hollywood flocked to it. However, Raphael was stopped at the door. Please take out your work pass. Sorry, I'm here for an interview. Oh, take this temporary pass and go in from there. The slogan in America was equality for all. But in this country, it was the most unequal society in the world. People were divided into the rich and the poor. The hidden class system was very obvious. The rich were the nobles here, and the poor were nothing here. For example, in Baroness Clubhouse, you couldn't even walk through the front door. Of course, Raphael wasn't the kind of person who wouldn't walk through the front door. Having been a model for so many years, she knew very well that the status of a model was not as glamorous as it seemed. When Raphael entered the clubhouse for the interview, there were already about 100 models there. A 1/10 acceptance rate was higher than expected. Raphael thought to herself. For some companies, the acceptance rate might be 1/20th or even 1/30th. The interview was very fast. The average time for each model was about 3 minutes. And it wasn't just one interviewer. When Raphael entered the interview room, there was a man and a woman sitting inside. The two from Raphael were two of the three main designers of the Baroness, Triss and Cooper. Many stars flocked to their clothes, but they couldn't get them. Good figure, but it's a pity that the clothes don't match. This year's popular lipstick is dark pink. Your fashion sense is too low. 22 years old. The upper age limit is also 22 years old, Triss said. Also, are you in college? Will your studies be affected? Or will your runway show and rehearsals be affected? Cooper asked. I have my teacher's approval and got his signature. I will focus on modeling, Raphael said seriously. If a student wanted to do other part-time jobs, he or she needed the teacher's approval. Otherwise, they wouldn't be allowed to work. Raphael took out her part-time application and placed it in front of Triss and Cooper. It was stamped by the school and signed by the teacher. Take a few steps. Average, Triss commented. And there's no agency. Sorry, Miss Raphael, you don't meet the requirements of our company. Please. Chapter 1013. What a waste of time. Cooper pursed his lips. Is our Baroness brand really that cheap? Anyone dares to come here for an interview. Lepore had already turned to leave. Hearing Cooper's words, she hurried and left as if she was escaping. Just then, Cooper flipped to the application that Lepore had left on his desk and saw the signature. Cooper's expression froze. Chenzhao. Cooper was no stranger to this signature, nor was he unfamiliar with this name. Tris, look. This signature. This is Mr. Chen's signature? That girl is Mr. Chen's student? Cooper's face paled. Cooper and Tris rushed out of the house and looked for Raphael. That girl was Qin Zhao's student. She was probably here because Qin Zhao had asked her to come. It would be fine if Cooper had only brushed her off. But if Qin Zhao heard what he said at the end, he wouldn't be able to control himself. What would the consequences be? Cooper remembered clearly the missing Brighton. From that day onwards, Brighton had never appeared again. It was as if he had evaporated. Cooper, Tris, and Nat were all in awe of Qin Zhao. Now, Cooper had made Qin Zhao's student leave in anger. The consequences would be severe. Ignoring how many pairs of eyes were watching, the two chased after Lepore. Miss Lepore, please wait. Lepore stopped and turned around, confused. Is there anything else? I was just joking with you. You're hired. I don't like joking. Lepore felt that the two were teasing her. She was about to leave. Trish hurriedly pulled Lapal back. Miss Lapal, I'm serious. I'm serious. Please stay. Lepore frowned and looked at the two in confusion. What was wrong with them? Why did their attitudes change so much? I don't have a management company or background. You said that my runway skills are mediocre. No, you are very good, very good. Our Baroness needs a model like you. As long as you are willing, you can become a regular model for our brand. Plus, you will definitely be included in our Baroness annual magazine. Lepore was even more confused. What was going on between the two of them? He definitely did not have that much influence. Moreover, he knew his own abilities. If there was something special about her, she wouldn't have been so unknown after being in the modeling industry for so many years. Are you serious? Yes, we are serious. I want to read the contract first. Of course, no problem. 20 minutes later, Raphael finished reading the contract. Shock was written all over her face. This contract was already considered the best treatment for a signed model. Her salary was 3 times higher than before, $3,000 a show. Moreover, there were all kinds of benefits and basic salary. Raphael didn't understand why he could get such a salary. Miss Lapore, if there's no problem, we can sign the contract now. Raphael nodded and signed his name. Raphael, the offensive words we said just now. Can you not let Mr. Chen know? Raphael was stunned. You know my teacher? How funny. How could we not know each other? Mr. Chen is friends with our boss, Cooper said in a roundabout way. Raphael didn't expect Qin Zhao to have so many connections. Moreover, it seemed that these two top fashion designers were very afraid of being stale. The interview was very enjoyable. I don't know what Mr. Cooper is talking about. Cooper heaved a sigh of relief. Miss Raphael, our company will be shooting a promotional video tomorrow. Remember to come early. Of course, no problem. Helis was the third person to pass the first level of the Tower of Trials. Before her, only Gaia and Norma had passed the first level. Moreover, she had also passed the first level perfectly and obtained a SSS score. Payne and Eric looked at Helis enviously. Ever since she'd obtained the Death Mist in Sandro National Park, Helis' abilities had improved by leaps and bounds. Helis, from now on, you're an official member of the association, Qin Zhao said. You'll be treated like an official member. Qin Zhao looked at Payne and Eric. You two work hard too. Don't lose to the girls. The two wanted to cry. Was the first level so easy to pass? Most people in the association didn't pass. Then Qin Zhao turned to West and the others. You guys have to work hard too. Didn't you realize that apart from me, everyone who passed the first level is a girl? Gaia, Norma, and Helis. Chen Zhao's words didn't just put pressure on Helis. The other girls were also under pressure. Patya, Helis, Jalanash, and Giselle were all very upset. Especially Jalanash. She used to be the strongest person in the association. But now, she wasn't even in the rankings. It was fine if she was weaker than Chen Zhao. But now, even newbies were stronger than her. She was very unhappy. If you're unhappy, then work harder. Patya was a support type. She definitely couldn't pass the first level alone. So, Chen Zhao wouldn't force her. Alice was a magic library. Battle magic wasn't her strong suit either. All the pressure was on Jalanash and Giselle. Guild leader, I would like to ask you to take me to the 4th floor, Helis stated her request. 4th level? But you can't survive on the 4th level with your strength. Because there are skeleton mages on the 4th level. They also use black magic and necromancy. They're the abilities I need to learn the most. I hope to learn magic from them, Helis said. Sure, but I'm not sure if I can take you to the 4th level, Chen Zhao said. One person going in was a different level of difficulty. 2 people going in was another level of difficulty. Get ready. I'll take you there the next time you can go in. I can go in now, Helis said. I didn't go to the 2nd level just now. Instead, I saved the 1st level. Okay, then let's go in now and start from the 2nd level. As soon as Chen Zhao and Helis entered the 2nd level, monsters started appearing. Chapter 10:14. Earthshaker was much bigger than the twisted monster, but it wasn't just in size that it was stronger. When they ran on the ground, Chen Zhao and Helis felt the ground shake. They seemed to have their own magic that could directly affect the ground. Anyway, it kept shaking. Chen Zhao and Helis couldn't stand still. If he wanted to take Helis to the 4th floor, she couldn't die before that. Helis immediately released the death mist. However, when the death mist enveloped Earthshaker, it was dispersed with a punch. The death mist was too little of a threat to Earthshakers. Just then, the Earthshaker before Helis raised its arms and smashed down at her head. Because of the shaking, Helis couldn't stand still at all. Chen Zhao immediately covered Helis with the dark serum. Helis' face paled in fear. She knew she wouldn't die, but the thrilling feeling made her heart jump. The monsters on the 2nd floor were too strong. They couldn't be compared to the 1st floor at all. She didn't know how Chen Zhao had passed. Of course, she even doubted if Chen Zhao could take her through the 2nd floor. Chen Zhao also had a hard time. The shaking made it hard for him to stand still, which affected his fighting ability. Chen Zhao kicked off and flew into the air. He stepped on the shoulder of an Earthshaker and stomped hard. The Earthshaker was stomped to the ground. Chen Zhao used the momentum to jump and punch another Earthshaker. However, Chen Zhao couldn't land on the ground. He had to land on the Earthshaker every time. If he landed on the ground, he wouldn't be able to stand still. He had to regain his balance. Looking at Chen Zhao's figure, Helis was dazzled. She knew that Chen Zhao was very powerful and had many trump cards. However, it was different from the casual and cynical way he dealt with the mother last time. This time, Chen Zhao was very serious, even though he didn't use his trump cards. He displayed a completely different kind of combat ability from last time. She couldn't even deal with one Earthshaker, but Chen Zhao could do it easily. Of course, it was an exaggeration to say that he could do it easily. But Chen Zhao could really deal with it easily. Earthshakers weren't strong because of their size or strength. In these two aspects, Chen Zhao far surpassed them. It was the vibration of the ground when they approached. Moreover, Chen Zhao didn't just have to deal with Earthshaker. At the same time, he had to protect Helith. His ultimate goal wasn't to kill to his heart's content. Instead, it was to lead Helith to the 4th floor. Therefore, Chen Zhao's battle range had always been around Helith. Chen Zhao had been jumping around the whole time. The battle lasted for more than half an hour before it finally ended. Harold looked at him. "President, do you want to rest? You can bring me to the 3rd floor next time." Chen Zhao shook his head. "No need. Actually, it's quite interesting to pass the 2nd level as a duo. It's much more interesting than solo." From Helis' perspective, the entire process was extremely thrilling. But to Chen Zhao, it was only interesting. Helios shook his head with a bitter smile. The second floor was rated D+, not bad. Next time, I'll find someone else to play on the second floor. Let's go to the third floor. The two entered the third floor at the same time. The monster that appeared on the third floor was the winged demon. But now, it was a duo, so the monsters were different too. The monsters that appeared on the third floor were a group of armored wyverns. Chen Zhao wasn't unfamiliar with wyverns. After all, he'd eaten many of them. In hell, wyverns were also common magical beasts. Wyverns were used as mounts or meat sources by lords or great lords, but it didn't mean they were weak. If they got aggressive, they could still be very fatal. They were like war horses. They were mounts. But they could also bring danger to people who weren't familiar with them. Chen Zhao wasn't confident that he could protect Helith in such a situation. So, he took out the 12 stone swords and the zither. Helith looked at him in surprise. She'd never seen this before. She didn't know why Chen Zhao took out the zither. But the next moment, she knew. When the 12 stone swords danced in the air, everything in the surroundings vanished in an instant. Blood and flesh rained down from the sky. Everything around them was cut into pieces. She opened her mouth and stared at Chen Zhao in disbelief. So powerful. She couldn't even deal with a wyvern. But Chen Zhao was killing wyverns. The entire process took less than 60 seconds. The battle was over. 100 wyverns had been slaughtered by Chen Zhao. Pass, 3S rating. Chen Zhao felt that he'd held back more than last time when he tried the zither. It seemed that his magic power had increased a bit in the past few days. Okay, you've passed the third floor. You don't need me to carry you anymore, right? Helith still hadn't recovered from the shock. Her gaze toward Chen Zhao was filled with admiration. That kind of indescribable power had deeply shocked her heart. President, don't you want to see what kind of monsters the duo on the fourth floor are? Chen Zhao thought about it. Then he'd go to the fourth floor. He wouldn't lose anything anyway. After entering the fourth floor, a black cloud appeared in the sky and shrouded the two of them. Then, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky. Before Chen Zhao and Helith could react, it struck Helith's head. Helith screamed and left the Tower of Trials. A huge charred bird was left on the ground. Just then, another bolt of lightning fell from the sky. Chen Zhao took a closer look and saw a bird in the lightning. A thunderbird. The bird was hidden in the lightning. It fell from the sky and landed on Chen Zhao's head. The ground around Chen Zhao was charred. Electricity flowed through Chen Zhao's body, making him feel very comfortable. In Western mythology, the thunderbird was a kind of mythical beast that was born and died in lightning. Their lifespans were extremely short. They only existed for an instant. Another thunderbird landed on Chen Zhao's head. Chen Zhao lifted his arm. Seeing the chance, he opened the mouth of gluttony. The lightning was swallowed by the mouth of gluttony. Just then, Chen Zhao felt his entire arm tremble. The mouth of gluttony was swallowing and obtaining the thunderbird's characteristics. Perhaps because of the lightning, the fourth eye on his arm opened. The fourth eye kept emitting electric sparks and pouring them into the mouth of gluttony. The mouth of gluttony was like a flamethrower, constantly brewing electricity. Boom! Chapter 10:15. However, after the lightning exploded in the sky, it was only a small circle for the entire cloud. A thunderbird landed on Chen Zhao's head. Chen Zhao felt great again. The thunderbird didn't do much damage to Chen Zhao. It could even be said to be non-existent. The thunderbird wasn't real natural lightning. It was much weaker than the 2 times Chen Zhao had been struck by lightning. Now, even if Chen Zhao faced real natural lightning again, he was confident that he could survive it. Compared to that, the thunderbird's lightning was only 1/10 as powerful. Chen Zhao had already been struck 20 to 30 times. Not only did he not feel any pain, but he even got used to it. It wasn't that he didn't feel anything, but the damage was much lower. There seemed to be only thunderbirds on the 4th level. There weren't any other monsters. 98 times, 99 times, 100 times, as expected, there was a notification that he had passed. Chen Zhao felt like he was full of energy. The mana he'd used on the 3rd level had completely recovered. The 4th eye on his right arm also closed. Chen Zhao didn't know what the fourth eye was like. However, he suspected that it had something to do with lightning. Because he was a human again, a large number of three-headed dragons appeared on the fifth level again. Chen Zhao did the same thing again. He cut through the Gordian knot and passed the fifth level. Then he recorded it and left the Tower of Trials. President, you're out? How did you pass the fourth level? Helis had been waiting for Chen Zhao outside. I passed. The fourth level is a two-person mode. I just have to be struck by lightning 100 times. Helis' face darkened. She'd been struck in the head by the first lightning and died. Chen Zhao had been struck by lightning 100 times inside. It seemed that the difference between her and Chen Zhao wasn't just in power. Even his ability to resist attacks was worlds apart. Jalig, Padalu and Giselle are at the headquarters, right? Help me find them. I need their help with something. Soon, the three of them were called to Chen Zhao. Helis also joined in the fun. President, why are you looking for us? I want to touch high-voltage electricity, but I'm not sure if it will affect the headquarters' electricity. Everyone exchanged glances, not knowing what Chen Zhao was trying to do. President, if you want to feel an electric shock, the socket in the room can satisfy your needs. Jalig wondered if Chen Zhao was a masochist. What I need is a higher current, at least 1,000,000 volts. Guild leader, what are you planning to do? I have a spell that requires a strong electric current to verify. Understood. Shall we build a power room for you? Sure. Chen Zhao nodded. How long? It will take some time. Okay, let me know when it's done, Chen Zhao said. But first, make me an accessible interface. Then let's go to our studio. The three brought Chen Zhao to the studio. It was a bit messy. Many parts were scattered all over the place. Guild leader, hold on to these two electric pliers. However, these electric pliers are connected to batteries, so they can only provide a limited amount of power and voltage. At most, they can provide up to 300,000 volts for 10 minutes. Sure, turn on the switch. Chen Zhao grabbed the electric pliers. Jalig knew that Chen Zhao was strong. The electricity shouldn't be able to hurt him. The moment Jalig turned on the switch, electricity surged into Chen Zhao's body. Chen Zhao realized that the fourth eye had opened. The mana he'd used in the Tower of Trials was also recovering. However, the recovery was very weak. It wasn't as fast as his automatic recovery. It seemed that his guess was right. The fourth eye had opened because of the Thunderbird. It could absorb electricity and recover mana. Earlier, in the Tower of Trials, the Thunderbird had kept attacking Chen Zhao. The fourth eye had absorbed it and converted it into mana for Chen Zhao. However, the amount of electricity that could be converted into mana was too low. Everyone in the studio saw that the electric pliers in Chen Zhao's hands had turned red, but Chen Zhao seemed like nothing had happened. Chen Zhao tossed the pliers down and clapped his hands. Too low. I can't feel anything. Everyone was speechless. Chen Zhao couldn't feel anything from the voltage that could electrocute someone. Since the fourth eye was related to lightning, he'd call it the Eye of the Thunder. However, the Eye of the Thunder was a bit useless. Unless Chen Zhao encountered an enemy with the lightning element, or he was fighting in a thunderstorm. Otherwise, it wouldn't be very useful. Or he could carry a generator with him. But Chen Zhao couldn't really carry a super generator with him. When he was tired and used up all his mana, he could turn on the generator to charge himself. So, the Eye of the Thunder was indeed invincible under certain circumstances. However, it could not generate electricity on its own, nor could it provide magic power. Chen Zhao's power hadn't increased. What had increased was Chen Zhao's diversity. Hurry up and finish the power room. Just then, Gaia entered the room. Chen, I heard that you just brought Helis to the fourth floor? You don't want to go too, do you? It's meaningless to you. No, I'm not interested in the fourth floor. If I want to go, I'll rely on my own abilities, Gaia said. I'm more interested in the monster Earthshaker that appeared in the duo on the second floor. Really? Me too. Compared to the monsters before and after, Earthshaker is more interesting. It's more useful for actual combat training. You think so too? Gaia said. I think so too. Earthshaker can be understood as a more complicated terrain. Chen Zhao had to admit that Gaia and Gaia had the same thoughts. Then when can we go play on the second floor together? No problem. I'm also interested in Earthshaker. Gaia and Chen Zhao were two completely different people. Gaia had the heart of a strong person. Chen Zhao, on the other hand, was interested. Oh, I heard that you left those two rookies in the Crypt Demon ruins. They asked for it? They're just kids. Don't be too harsh on them. Gaia also roughly knew about the grudge between Lit Grove and Bona Twain and Chen Zhao. However, in her eyes, both of them were just children. They're older than a quarter of the people in the society. They're not kids anymore. You've punished them enough. I'll bring them back tonight. Chapter 10:16. This was Gaia's first time in the Crypt Demon ruins. When the supernatural organization first fought against the family, she hadn't joined the supernatural organization yet. Last time when Lit Grove and Bona Twain came to the rescue, she was busy and didn't come. Gaia had been looking for a chance to come and see this place. She had always heard about how fierce and cruel the Crypt Demons here were. Unfortunately, she wouldn't have the chance to see it. At the very least, there was no chance under normal circumstances. Because when she entered the Crypt Demon ruins, she took out the association's badge. The Crypt Demon was leading the way. He had no intention of attacking her. Gaia was not the type to act indiscriminately. Therefore, he could only regretfully give up on the idea of making a move. When they entered the depths and saw the pyramid in the ruins, Gaia was also shocked by this great and ancient building. At this moment, Ritter Grove and Bona Twain were like two refugees. In less than 2 days, the two of them had completely abandoned the so-called fear and disgust. Right now, they were sitting in front of the fire, roasting the earth locusts provided by the Crypt Demons. In the face of hunger, any bottom line would become non-existent. Just a day ago, they were still filled with disgust towards the earth locust. But now, the earth locust was their food. Even though they could not eat the earth locust raw. You two are better than I thought. At this moment, Gaia's voice sounded. Both of them jumped in fright. When they looked carefully, they realized that it was Gaia. Although the two of them were in a sorry state, they did not collapse. Gaia was quite pleased with this. Miss Gaia, why are you here? If you come to pick me up, then leave. Ah? Really? But, the president said, we haven't reached the 3rd day yet. It hasn't even been 2 days, right? The two of them became hesitant again. After all, if they disobeyed Chen Zhao's orders again now, they would have to face Chen Zhao's thunderous fury. After overcoming their initial fear, they discovered that this place was not as scary as they had imagined. Thus, they'd rather obediently complete Chen Zhao's punishment, instead of running away on his own. I'm friends with Chen. I've already told him, Gaia said. So you can leave now? Really? That's wonderful. I can finally leave this place. Don't celebrate too early. You need to continue your work. Chen isn't going to let you off so easily. Lit Grove wanted to cry but had no tears. If only he had known Chen Zhao was so terrifying. From the first day they met, he would obediently pretend to be a grandson. It was just that he was used to being domineering in the past. He thought that all teachers in the world were the same. He could bully her as he pleased. Who would have thought that Chen Zhao was a terrifying demon king? However, Ritter Grove was no longer as afraid as before. Although the job wasn't that glamorous. But now, he had experienced such a terrifying thing. There didn't seem to be anything to be afraid of when he went to guard the morgue. Pack up. Let's go. Gaia realized that the two of them seemed to have grown a lot. Although it was only 2 days. But they seemed to have become completely different people. Flint, rags, and 2 earth locust. Why are you carrying these things? A memorial, Ritter Grove said. Breathing in the fresh air outside again, both of them felt their eyes moisten. It was such a touching feeling. Don't make Chen angry anymore. He's been lenient enough to the two of you. Do you know how he dealt with the last person who tried to harm him? I know. He stuffed that person into a meat grinder. Good. The next day, Lit Grove had a good night's sleep and went straight to the headquarters of the association. Unfortunately, Chen Zhao wasn't there today. After asking, he found out that Chen Zhao didn't come every day. Just then, Gaia walked in and saw Ritter Grove. "Why you here?" "Ms. Gaia, I'm here to see if there's anything I can help with. If there's an operation, you participate. If not, you're busy with your own things or training." "How do I train?" Ritter Grove asked. "West has a public trial ring. Go get it from him and then go to the Tower of Trials. And then, you'll know after you go in." Just then Helly's walked in. She'd heard that Ritter Grove had offended Chen Zhao, so she was very unhappy with him. If he wasn't Chen Zhao's student, he would have been torn into pieces. Even if Chen Zhao didn't do anything, she wouldn't let him go. "Helly's, you're here. How about we go to the second level together?" "Sorry, Gaia, I have to keep the 4th level file. Also, I just came out, so I can't go in for a while." "Okay, I'll go find Norma." Ever since Norma passed the 1st level, she had no progress on the 2nd. She was already very lucky on the 1st level. Her Eye of Nightmare was useless on the 2nd. Ritter Grove got a ring and went to the Tower of Trials. He'd heard the other members mention the Tower of Trials a few times before. However, he didn't know what exactly it was. Every time, they talked about it vaguely. He didn't know what was inside either. Just then Gaia and Norma walked over. "Ms. Gaia, Ms. Norma, why are you standing here? Since you got the ring, put it on and press it against the stone door." Ritter Grove pressed his palm against the door according to Gaia's instructions. Instantly, Ritter Grove whispered in front of the two of them. "How about we bet how long he stays in there?" Norma said, 30 seconds, $100. "I bet 15 seconds. Gaia looked at the time. Very quickly, 30 seconds passed. Ritter Grove still hadn't come out. 45 seconds later, Lit Grove came out. However, from the looks of it, he was quite frightened. "Not bad, kid. You can actually stay in there for 45 seconds. How did you do it?" "I'm not dead? I'm not dead. What happened just now? Was it an illusion?" "It's real, but the Tower of Trials doesn't kill people. At least, you won't be killed as long as you have the ring," Gaia said. Gaia said, "You still haven't answered my question. How did you last 45 seconds? "I dodged the first wave of attacks," Ritter Grove said. "Oh, how did you do that?" Chapter 10:17. In fact, after this period of experimentation, everyone realized that the combination of 2 or more people would produce different effects. For example, when Patya teamed up with someone else, her war dance spell would bring more benefits than the 2-person team on the 1st level. For example, when Patya teamed up with someone else, her war dance spell would bring more benefits than the 2-person team on the 1st level. So, they were all trying to cooperate with each other to clear the trial tower. Of course, the benefits of such a combination were also limited. For example, when Harris and Qin Zhao worked together, it was all Qin Zhao's effort. In reality, it was all Qin Zhao's effort. Helly's had been killed instantly on the 4th floor. She had not shown her value at all. This was because the difference in power was too great. It was like a dungeon in a game. Qin Zhao was a high-level player. When he entered a high-level dungeon, the effect of a support player was minimal. Lit Grove started familiarizing himself with the headquarters and the members. In the afternoon, Lit Grove went to the hospital. "Hey Lit, you're here?" Maggie was surprised to see Lit Grove. She didn't think that Lit Grove would come again. After all, Lit Grove had been assigned to be a security guard in the morgue. No matter what, Lit Grove was the young master of a rich family. He wouldn't do this kind of work. What she didn't expect was that Lit Grove would actually appear in the hospital again. "He's not here to resign, is he? This is my internship place. What's so strange about me coming here?" Maggie was very surprised by Lit Grove's answer. She was really curious as to how Qin Zhao had convinced Lit Grove. He actually came here to work obediently. To be honest, if it were her, she definitely wouldn't be able to endure this kind of work. Of course, she was also glad that she didn't offend Qin Zhao. She was very satisfied with her internship. Lepore went to Baroness Hall again. Many sign models had already gathered there. Many of them were famous models. There were even 2 A-list models. They were the kind that had acted in Hollywood movies and acted as vases. This was basically the highest level that a model could reach. There were millions of models in the world, but no more than 20 could reach their level. Everyone wanted to achieve their dream of becoming a star, but the path was too difficult. Just then, a few people came in. James was in the lead, and his team followed behind him. All the models' eyes lit up when they saw James. James was now hailed as Steven's successor. The box office of his first movie had already exceeded everyone's expectations. If it weren't for Steven, his movie would have become a new box office record holder. However, even if he was shrouded in Steven's halo, James's achievements still made him an A-list director overnight. So, to be chosen by him was every model's dream. James came to the flowers. In the past, he would sleep with some actresses and arrange 1 or 2 small roles. But now that his status was high, his horizons were also higher. When he looked back at his past, he felt that he was very tasteless. This was the difference in height, and the way of looking at things was also different. Now, he didn't need to go to the unspoken rules. If he really needed a woman, he had too many ways to get her. Of course, this method was also more convenient, easier, and safer than the past. James clapped his hands. Ladies, I believe you all know about today's mission. Next, we're going to the filming location. Hello, Mr. James. I'm Tigars. Hello, Tigars, please go to the bus. We don't have much time. The model called Tigars returned to the line awkwardly. Among the group of models, she was considered a slightly famous supermodel. She had wanted to get to know James. It would be best if they could get to know each other. Unfortunately, James didn't fall for it at all. He had been in Hollywood for decades, so of course he knew Tigars' intentions. Everyone got on the bus, and James chose a seat at random. Behind the bus were 2 cars with props. Ladies, the location we're shooting this time is a rich man's territory. I hope you can behave yourself and don't offend the rich man. The models thought that they had nothing better to do than to offend a rich man. Don't break into his home. He and his family don't like people coming in casually, James said. Of course, we understand. You're all good girls. There will be plenty of opportunities waiting for you in the future, so don't do anything embarrassing. James was warning the coquettish bitches. He knew too well the desire these women had for quality men. If you were targeted by them, they would use all sorts of methods to kill you. Steven had warned him before. He told him to keep an eye on the models. When the motorcade entered Mirror Lake, the girls started chattering. So beautiful. It's so beautiful. I really want to live here. Mirror Lake was like a piece of emerald blue gemstone. The surface of the lake was calm and tranquil. In the distance, they could see a huge yacht. It was surrounded by emerald green vegetation. The air was fresh too. When they saw the faintly discernible villa in the distance, the girls became lively again. The motorcade stopped, and James got off first. Behind him was a large group of long-legged beauties. Just then, a huge bear appeared on the side of the road. Before the girls could scream, they saw a baby sitting on the back of the bear. Stop, yeah? The baby had 2 tender front teeth in his mouth. He pointed at James and the others and made incomprehensible sounds. The models all looked at James. James scratched his head. He had seen Jerlin before, but she definitely didn't remember him. Jerlin, is your dad home? Princess, I'm home. Jerlin patted Princess's back. The others didn't understand Jerlin's words, but Princess did. Princess turned around and returned to the house. Everyone's eyes were filled with surprise. The princess and little Jerlin looked like 2 extremes. But now they looked so compatible that no one found it strange at all. Just then the door opened. Phalai carried Jerlin out of the villa. Hi, Miss Phalai. Mr. James, hello. I brought people here to shoot a promotional video. Did Mr. Chin tell you about it? I know. Steven told me last time. Phalai nodded. Where's Mr. Chin? Chapter 10:18. Everyone saw a person swimming on the lake. However, Mirror Lake was too big and they couldn't see clearly. Miss Phalai, I'll start filming with the models now. Please forgive us if we've disturbed you. Of course. Phalai smiled, but she wouldn't be careless. These flirtatious bitches were her main targets. Of course, she still had to be tolerant and generous on the surface. Phalai clapped her hands and all the pets in the house ran out. James was already used to it. After all, he'd been here once or twice. However, the models behind him paled in fear. Girls, you'll be filming a promotional video with them later. Familiarize yourself with them first, James said. Also, who's good at swimming? I'm good too. I used to be on the school swimming team. The group of girls all fought to raise their hands. There's a killer whale in Mirror Lake. Later, you'll choose a girl to dive into the water and face it. James was no stranger to Amon. He'd been an assistant director when they'd filmed Sea Patrol. He had a deep impression of Amon. Amon worked well with the crew too. That was why he wasn't afraid of Amon at all. Instead, he looked forward to reuniting with his old friend. Many people in the crew were also the staff of Sea Police, and they were also looking forward to it. However, when the girls heard that they'd have to go into the water and face a killer whale, they all backed off. Just then, Lepore raised her hand. Mr. James, I can do it. Anyone else? The girls all fell silent. No one spoke again. No one wanted to face a monster in the water. Even though killer whales were the safest animals in the world. At least for humans, killer whales had almost no record of killing people. Killer whales were also called killer whales in China. In fact, this was a translation error at the beginning and it wasn't corrected later. Okay, you go then. What's your name? Lepore. The group of girls looked at Raphael coldly. Every group had their infighting, let alone a group of women. There was no peace. They all thought that they were the chosen ones. Of course, they didn't want other women to surpass them. Lepore was an experienced model. Of course, she knew about the infighting in the industry. The girls began to interact with these wild beasts. James gave them 10 minutes to familiarize themselves with each other to avoid any problems during filming. Just then, Chen Zhao swam back to the shore. When Raphael saw Chen Zhao, he was stunned. Lepore didn't expect to see Chen Zhao here. This is Chen Zhao's home? Since this was Chen Zhao's home, he should be very rich, right? Why did he still want to be a university professor? The other models all looked at Chen Zhao, instantly attracted by his figure. Chen Zhao's body emitted a wave of masculine hormones. The women couldn't help but lust for him. All the models secretly swallowed their saliva. Just then, Fei Lai walked over with a towel. Chen, she whispered into his ear, did you come here to show off your body because you saw so many girls coming to our house? Chen Zhao rolled his eyes and kissed Fei Lai's forehead. Are you jealous? I'm not. I'm pregnant anyway. If you can't hold it in, you can find a few women. If Chen Zhao really believed this, he might as well lose his head. Of course not. Who do you think I am? Chen Zhao touched Fei Lai's hair. Just then, Lepore walked up. Teacher. James and the other models all stared at Lepore in shock. Teacher? Lepore was Chen Zhao's student? Chen Zhao turned his head to look at Lepore. Why you here? Mr. Chen, is she your student? James asked. Yes, I'm her intern teacher, Chen Zhao said. James, do you want to come in for a drink? No, I need to hurry up and get things done, James said, chuckling. He glanced at Lepore from the corner of his eye. It seemed that he had to give her more shots and close-ups. After returning to the house, Chen Zhao took out a bottle of wine. Don't rush. Come and have a few sips. I believe you'll like it. Before Christmas, Chen Zhao had given him a bottle of wine. He knew how good Chen Zhao's wine was. Seeing Chen Zhao come out with the nameless wine, he was instantly addicted. Fei Lai also came out with 2 bottles of wine. Chen, you're only giving it to James. What about the other girls? Sisters, come over. Please treat this as your home for now. Many of the models were experienced drinkers. After all, they attended parties almost every other day. Their alcohol tolerance might even be higher than Chen Zhao's. It's the nameless wine. What nameless wine? You just need to know that one bottle is $300,000. Many of the models gasped in shock. This couple was too rich and extravagant. Treating guests with such wine? And 3 bottles at once? In other words, they treated them with $900,000 worth of wine. Similarly, Raphael did not expect his teacher to be so rich. Perhaps being a university teacher was just his hobby. No wonder he was so familiar with Dell. Before, he'd thought that Chen Zhao had an ordinary background and was just a university professor. Now, it seemed that he'd underestimated him. Okay, girls, put down your glasses. We're going to start filming. First shot. Lepore, you go first. Change into your bikini. Lepore took off her jacket. She was wearing a bikini underneath. Mr. Chen, let me borrow your boat. We need to go to the middle of Mirror Lake and shoot close-up scenes with Amon. No problem. You can use whatever you need. Can I borrow the yacht? Yes. James and the crew boarded Feilai on the small boat. Lepore looked at the facilities on Feilai and clicked her tongue. This super luxurious yacht probably cost tens of millions of dollars. From afar, she only felt that it was pretty. But only when she actually boarded Feilai could she feel how luxurious it was. Prepare the lights. First shot. Walk out of the cabin. Give me some wind. It was the end of January. The cold wind wasn't good at this time. But Lepore was experienced. She wouldn't complain or avoid it. Good, very good. Beautiful. Since it was a promotional video, it had to be as beautiful as possible. Go, go, go. Go to the deck. Jump into the water. Dive, cameramen, get ready. Dive in together. Chapter 10:19. It wasn't like the models had never seen anything more luxurious than Chen Zhao's house. However, Chen Zhao's house wasn't just luxurious. It was surrounded by mountains and rivers. The scenery was pleasant. The entire environment was setting off the house's comfort. All the models looked at Feilai enviously. Everything about Chen Zhao was attracting them. Young, rich, strong, and mysterious at the same time. The models couldn't help but want to get close to Chen Zhao. After entering the water, Lepore quickly recovered. She listened to James's order and dove down. Like a mermaid, she swayed her body and her beautiful hair fluttered in the water. She didn't look messy at all. Just then, a huge black shadow appeared in the water. Raphael was startled. The shadow had a terrifying sense of oppression. Lepore was about to escape when James's voice sounded in her earpiece. Don't panic. It's Amon. He's very friendly. Give me your hand. It was a dreamy shot. Lepore had never had such magical contact before. Because of the light underwater, she couldn't see Amon's full face. But even so, she could still feel Amon's huge body. When her palm came into contact with Amon's head, the smooth touch made her forget her fear. Just then, Amon swung his head and tail. A huge current rushed over and pushed Lepore to the surface. Lepore floated up and the cameraman followed. He gestured at James on the deck. Okay, you can come up now, James said. Change your clothes and do the next shots. Mr. James, do I still have more shots? Don't you need them? No, I'll be happy if you have more. The second shot was next to the house. The other models were all jealous when they saw that Lepore had so many shots. A promo was about 5 minutes long. But there were more than 10 models here. Each model was given less than 30 seconds. Lepore, on the other hand, had almost a minute. It was just to make her look better. The other models seemed to have become supporting characters. But she couldn't help it. She had someone to rely on. Of course, for the promotional video, every model would be assigned a different time according to their ability and fame. They couldn't really split the time equally. It was impossible for Raphael to have a minute to himself. He would definitely shorten the time in the later stages. However, even if it was shortened, Raphael had shot so many scenes that it would definitely take up a lot of time. After the shooting of Lap Hour, it was time for the other models to shoot. There was also the group shot of the models. In front of the camera, the models were as radiant as spring sunshine. Show the best side of yourself. They knew how to present the most beautiful scene in front of the camera. All their gestures were so pleasing to the eye. Darling, do you see that? They're making eyes at you. Those bitches. Feilai nestled in Chen Zhao's arms. Chen Zhao shrugged nonchalantly. Why would I like those mediocre girls? You men just like to say one thing and mean another. The shooting of James and the model took the whole afternoon. As the hosts, Chen Zhao and Feilai also prepared some food for them. Even under the setting sun, James did not forget to seize the opportunity to shoot a few sets of shots. James, Won't you stay for dinner? No, I still have something to do. Smiling, James shook his head. I've taken up the whole afternoon. I should go too. But be careful on the way. Chin, do you want to make a guest appearance in my new movie? I'll go if I have time. Chin Zhao hugged James. Goodbye. The models gathered behind James, their eyes filled with envy. It was impossible for them to even appear in a scene in James' movie. However, Chen Zhao could receive James' invitation. That was the difference between people. The bus slowly drove away from the mansion. A model asked boldly, Mr. James, do you have a new movie to shoot? Yes, James answered indifferently. I'm still casting. The model's eyes lit up. Mr. James, do you need us for anything? I'm not sure yet. The script isn't out yet. James would not agree easily. James glanced at Raphael again. Raphael, on the other hand, was a little distracted and didn't notice James' eyes. Mr. James, what does that Mr. Chin do? Is he also in Hollywood? No, he's a university professor, James said. Did you forget? He's Lepour's teacher. But he seems to be very rich. What's wrong with a capable person having money? James said matter-of-factly. A capable person having money. This was the logic of society. Lapauer, are you interested in acting in my movie? Raphael was stunned for a moment, and all the models in the bus gasped. The atmosphere became quiet in an instant. Everyone's mouths were agape as they looked at James in disbelief. They did not expect James to invite Lapauer so actively. Even Lapauer did not expect it herself. But why? I'm not famous at all, and I've never filmed any roles before. I'm afraid I can't do it. Then you better find an actor training class, James said. James said, my movie will start shooting in 3 months. I will reserve a main role for you. Because of my teacher? Lapauer asked hesitantly. Of course. I owe your teacher a huge favor, James said seriously. But will the investor allow it? It was not that Lapauer doubted James' ability, but in Hollywood, not everyone had the right to decide on a role. Even the director had no right to decide on a main role alone. Unless it was someone as famous as Steven. No matter how successful James was, he was only a new director, or even a young one. The investor is PLM, and the CEO of PLM is a good friend of your teacher. If your teacher asks for it, he can even get the female lead, let alone the main role. The other models gasped once again as they looked at Raphael with hatred in their eyes. It would be great if they could have this opportunity. Even if they knew that even without Lapauer, this opportunity would not fall on their heads. But they still could not help but envy and hate Lapauer. Chapter 10:20. Hello, hello, hello. Ever since Fei Lai got pregnant, her Chinese had improved by leaps and bounds. After all, she had a lot of time to learn Chinese. She also requested Chen Zhao to communicate with her in Chinese every day. Fei Lai, your Chinese has improved a lot. Darling, you should talk to me in Chinese, Fei Lai said angrily. Fei Lai had only mastered the basic Mandarin for daily communication. She was still far from being good at it. Fei Lai, I'll give you a Chinese question. Let's see if you can understand it. Okay, go ahead. Wear as much as you can in the winter and as much as you can in the summer, Chen Zhao said. Do you understand these 2 sentences? Fei Lai scratched her head. She couldn't even speak the sentence smoothly, let alone understand it. Then the question is, what's the difference between these 2 sentences? I don't know. Let's change to something simpler. Okay, let's change to something simpler. What's the difference between someone who used to like someone and then like someone else? So complicated, then I'll change to something else. Chen Zhao had been playing for the whole morning. Fei Lai started doubting her own Chinese. He could understand Mandarin when it was separated, but why couldn't he understand what it meant when it was put together? Chen, it's almost Chinese New Year, right? Fei Lai asked. It was already the end of January. In a few days it would be New Year's Eve. Yes. You want a family reunion during New Year? Yes. Do you want me, your mother, and your sister to celebrate the holiday together? Forget it. Chen Zhao touched Fei Lai's hair. They were related by blood, but their relationship was too weak. Fei Lai had her own thoughts. I'll go out in the afternoon, Qin Zhao said. He didn't want to continue talking about this. He planned to hide outside for a while. In the afternoon, Qin Zhao received Kareem's call before he left. Qin, Mr. Laurent and the boss are going to LA in a few days. I think they're going to your place to celebrate with you. Qin Zhao was dumbfounded. That old bastard was coming again? It was definitely Fei Lai who called him. She probably thought that she was in a foreign country and it was a holiday. If she didn't have anyone to celebrate with, she might feel lonely. That was why she'd called her family over to celebrate with him. But Qin Zhao really didn't need it. He wasn't that pretentious. If only when Nip came, he'd welcome her warmly. But Laurent was coming too, so he couldn't even have a happy spring festival. No, definitely not. It would be a disaster if she and Qin Zhao came. I need to think of a way to deal with this old bastard. Qin had to think about dealing with him. Chen Wang of Enchanting. In that case, he must be thinking of how to deal with him now. Kareem, has that old bastard Laurent already started his plan? And Lao. And God, and Kareem broke out in a cold sweat. Every time Qin Zhao and Laurent schemed against each other, they crossed the line. They didn't want to get involved. They didn't do anything, but they got involved every time. Kareem finally told Qin Zhao everything about Laurent's plan. That old asterisk shoal is so troublesome, but since Laurent had made his move, Kareem couldn't fall behind. While driving, Qin Zhao called West. West, I need you to arrange something for me. Suddenly, a police car approached Qin Zhao's car. Sharon was in the car, gesturing at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao could only pull over. Darling, what did I do? Qin Zhao looked at Sharon helplessly. Talking on the phone while driving is against the traffic rules. Qin Zhao was speechless. Have you been following me since I left the house? I saw your car just now, so I thought I would get something. As I expected, this is your ticket. How about we go for a drink? Qin Zhao invited. Sure. There's a cafe up ahead. The two went to the cafe and drank coffee by the roadside. There weren't many people in the afternoon. Qin Zhao and Sharon were the only ones in the outdoor seats. Are you very free? Qin Zhao asked. How much work do you think the traffic police have? Sharon sipped her coffee, depressed. Aren't you rich? Why do you need to be a police officer? Qin Zhao remembered that Sharon's private car was a sports car. Coincidentally, Qin Zhao recognized the brand. It was a famous sports car manufacturer. Sharon's sports car was 20 times more expensive than the Aston Martin he'd bought for Fei Lai. Aren't you rich too? But you're not a professor at UCLA. Sharon rolled her eyes. Since you want to be a police officer so much, why don't you spend some money and transfer yourself to another force? It shouldn't be hard for you, right? I'm not as rich as my father. He bribed the police chief long ago. Every time David wants to transfer me to his major crimes division, the chief will transfer me back to the traffic team. I've been working part-time as an assassin recently. Hire me. I'll kill your father and you'll get what you want. You'll also get a huge inheritance. Just because of what you said, I can arrest you. Just then, Qin Zhao saw a sexy beauty lying on the ground nearby. She seemed to be looking for something. The woman was wearing a dress, so when she knelt on the ground, her thighs were faintly discernible. Qin Zhao couldn't even move his eyes away. He stood up and walked over. Hi, miss, what are you doing? The woman lifted her head. It was a face that could charm all living things. Hi, sir. I'm looking for my diamond ring. My fiancé gave it to me. The woman's face was filled with anxiety. Sir, if you can help me find the diamond ring, I'm willing to pay you $20,000. This is my phone number and my address. After you find it, can you mail the diamond ring to this address for me? The woman looked at her watch again and said, My flight is at 3 o'clock. I'm going to the airport now. Sir, if you can help me find the diamond ring, I'm willing to pay you $20,000. The woman's face was filled with pleading. Smiling, Qin Zhao said, Of course. I'd be happy to work for a beauty like you. With that, the woman hurriedly boarded a sports car on the side of the road and drove away. Qin Zhao looked at the high-end business card in his hand. It was really high-end. At this moment, a girl walked over and bent down to pick something up. Qin Zhao saw the girl pick up a diamond ring. Chapter 1021. You said it's yours? How can you say it's yours? The girl immediately hid the diamond ring in her pocket and stared at Chen Zhao with a cautious expression. It's really mine. I don't care if it's yours or not. I picked it up, so it's mine. Tell me, what do I have to do for you to give it back to me? $3,000, the girl said solemnly. If you're willing to pay $3,000, I'll give it back to you. Chen Zhao took out his wallet and handed $3,000 to the girl. The girl was about to take the money, but she didn't. You're going back on your word? Diamond ring. The girl stuffed the ring into Chen Zhao's hand. Only then did Chen Zhao let go of the money. The girl skipped away. Sharon had seen everything from start to finish. Smiling, Chen Zhao returned to his seat. It's for you. Furrowing her brows, Sharon asked curiously, You knew you were tricked? Then why did you give them the money? It's just in the movies, Chen Zhao said, unconcerned. What are you planning? Sharon looked at Chen Zhao in confusion. She didn't understand. Since Chen Zhao could tell it was a scam, why did he still jump in? The girl turned 2 corners and found her partner's car. She got into her partner's car and the beauty asked, Risa, did you get it? Risa waved the cash in her hand. Yes, it was too easy. 2,000 for me and 1,000 for you. Jessie, why do you have 2,000 and I only have 1,000? Why don't we split it? That's not fair, Risa said unhappily. Because I'm irreplaceable, but anyone can play your role. Jessie smoothed his hair and held his chest at the same time. This determines our distribution ratio. Fine. Risa looked at Jessie's impressive chest size enviously. Just then, a business car stopped beside them and a few men in black alighted. The men in black took the 2 of them out of the sports car without saying a word. Then they dragged them into the business car. The 2 girls screamed, but it was useless. If you can't keep quiet, you'll be quiet forever. The 2 of them saw a tall woman playing with a pistol in front of them. The 2 women immediately quieted down. Who are you people? What do you want? You've provoked someone you shouldn't have, the tall woman said coldly. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Both Jessie and Rissa were going to play dumb. You don't need to understand. Along the way, the 2 of them racked their brains to think of a way to escape. But these people all had guns and they were outnumbered. They were only 2 women, and Risa was only 14 years old. In this situation where they were surrounded by a pack of wolves, it was impossible for them to escape even if they had heaven-defying means. After driving for half an hour, the car finally stopped. The 2 of them got out of the car with trepidation. Just at this moment, a terrified cry came from afar. The 2 of them looked over and saw a man locked in a cage. There was also a huge bear in the cage. There was another person standing outside the cage. Both of them recognized that it was the Asian that they had deceived earlier. Let me out, the man in the cage screamed in pain, but it was accompanied by a bear's roar. The bear pounced on the man. The 2 women saw blood and flesh splatter everywhere. The bear was eating the man in the cage. The 2 women's faces paled in fear. Gaia pushed Jessie from behind. Don't stop. Just then, Chen Zhao turned around and walked toward the 2 women. When he saw Lisa and Jessie, he even waved at them warmly. Hi, honey, we meet again. The 2 women's faces paled in fear. Who was this Asian? Who was the man in the cage? What did they want to do? I'm really sorry for what happened just now. Don't say sorry to me, Chen Zhao interrupted Jessie. Chen Zhao interrupted Jessie. I don't need to hear the word sorry. You've hurt me. You've caused severe trauma to my heart. What do you want us to do? Chen Zhao pointed at the cage not far away. Do you know why it's so big? The 2 women looked at the huge bear that was eating the body and shook their heads instinctively. Because it eats people, Chen Zhao said. Human meat seems to stimulate the bear's growth. Maybe it's because humans eat fast food for a long time. There's a lot of hormones in it, so it has an effect on the bear. You must be curious about how many people it has eaten, right? Who the hell wants to know, they thought. The 2 women were about to pee their pants. They had never seen such a terrifying thing. Feeding people to bears. Let's talk inside. Chen Zhao warmly invited the 2 women into the headquarters, but their feet seemed to be rooted to the ground. They wouldn't move a single step. Chen Zhao looked at the two women. Or do you want to go into the cage and we can talk through the cage? The two women immediately moved and followed Chen Zhao. At this moment, two black-clothed men dragged a girl over. The girl looked to be about 16 or 17 years old. She cried and screamed. Let me go, let me go. I was wrong, I know I was wrong. I only took goods worth less than $1,000. I'll make up for my mistake. Don't kill me. Chen Zhao moved away and waved his hand in disgust. Put her in the cage. Under Risa and Jesse's gaze, the girl was sent into the cage. Do you want to see her get eaten? The two women were even more terrified. Their bodies stiffened. They turned their heads, not daring to look at the cage in the distance. But the sound still came. It was a desperate and heart-wrenching scream. Just then, West came to Chen Zhao's side. Sir, the princess seems to be too full. Really? You're lucky. Chen Zhao looked at the two. You can live one more day. Risa and Jesse didn't know if they should be happy or desperate. In a direction they couldn't see, Hellies and Jalag were coming out of the cage. Princess came out with them. Chen Zhao brought Risa and Jesse into the living room and sat on the sofa. You two sit too. The two women didn't dare to sit. They stood before Chen Zhao, trembling. Just then Henry walked over with a tray. He seemed very nervous too. The tray in his hand fell to the ground. Henry paled in fear. Sir, I'm sorry, no need to be sorry. Chen Zhao smiled. The two men in black walked up and dragged Henry out. Chapter 1022. Risa and Jesse trembled in fear. In such a short time, Chen Zhao had already killed 3 people in front of them. After Henry was dragged out of the headquarters, Klaus pushed Henry. Shout louder. If they find out, you'll really be fed to the bears. That's not tragic enough. Do you know what it means to be heartbroken? Do you really want to get closer to the princess? In the living room, Chen Zhao crossed his legs. Risa and Jesse stood before Chen Zhao, trembling. I told you to sit. Don't you understand? Do you think that my pet is full? That they can't eat you? Risa was already crying. Chen Zhao glared at her. Gouge out the eyeball that's crying. Risa immediately stopped crying. This ferocious man brought them incomparable terror. The servants here only dropped the trays on the ground and dragged them out to feed the bears. They'd never seen such a terrifying person. This man was a demon. Do you have anything to say to me? The two glanced at each other and hesitated. Nothing? Chen Zhao stood up and said to the two men in black beside him, make arrangements tomorrow. The small one will be at the princess breakfast and the big one will be at the princess lunch. Sir. The two trembled in fear. Jesse hurriedly said, I have something to say, I have something to say. Don't go, I have something to say. Someone hired us to trick you. You should go and find the person who hired us. Chen Zhao turned around and looked at the two. How did he hire you? An agent? You scammers have an agent? Chen Zhao found it funny. It's just an introduction from an acquaintance, not a professional agent. Then how did he hire you? He offered us $5,000 to trick you out of your money. Chen Zhao cursed inwardly. They'd actually spent $5,000 to trick him out of $3,000. Apart from that old bastard Laurent, no one else would do such a stupid thing. Chen Zhao was filled with hatred. He'd come to Los Angeles this time. If he didn't make him go back to Sacramento, his surname wouldn't be Chen. Do you want to live or die? Chen Zhao asked. Any normal person would know what to choose. The two of them were no exception. Just imagine the scene of being torn to pieces by that giant bear. They shuddered. Give me 3 collars, Chen Zhao said to the man beside him. Not long after, the black-clothed man returned with a small collar. Put it on your hand. The two of them looked at the collar, not knowing what it was for. Looking at the two, Chen Zhao said to the man beside him, show them how to use this collar. The man in black threw the collar on the ground and pressed the remote control. Bang, the heat wave hit their faces, and Lisa and Jesse were scared into a cold sweat. Looking at the collar on his hand, his face turned pale. I'm sure you understand your situation now. Chen Zhao smiled at the two girls. The two girls nodded. Chen Zhao stood up. It's good that you understand. Be good and don't try to escape or disobey my orders. After all, my pets don't like cooked food. Sacramento Airport. Ever since Sacramento gained the reputation of being the city of wine, the passenger flow at Sacramento Airport had skyrocketed by 10 times. Winnip, Lauren, Kane, Howard, and Kareem were waiting to board the plane. Mr. Lauren, I think we should give up on this plan, Kareem tried to persuade Lauren. No, I have to carry out this plan. Mr. Lauren, why? We've never won. It's not about winning or losing. It's about dignity, Lauren said seriously. Lauren said solemnly, it's because we've never won before that we must regain our dignity. Kareem, Howard, and Kane all covered their faces. That's your dignity, but don't drag us down with you. Don't worry, Lauren said confidently. I'll make him lose all face this time. Our plan is perfect. The three of them sighed. Lauren still didn't know that they'd already become traitors. However, Qin Zhao had already seen through his plan. They didn't want to be tortured by him, so joining him was the safest choice. What are you guys doing? Our plane's here. It's time to board. Winnip looked back at the four. After arriving at the airport, the four of them had been talking about something. They boarded the plane to Los Angeles. They were still in first class. Kareem, lend me your phone, Kane said. Don't you have your own phone? Kareem was playing with his phone. He looked up at Kane lazily. My phone's out of battery, Kane said, holding his phone. Borrow it from Howard. Don't borrow it from me. Howard was also playing with his phone. Before Kane could say anything, he took the initiative to block Kane's request. Mr. Lauren, lend me your phone. What are you doing? Give my new girl a call. Lauren passed his phone to Kane on the other side of the aisle. Just then, a message came. Mr. Lauren, you have a voice message. Oh, open it, Lauren said. Lon, I have something to tell you. Kane opened the voice message. Lon, I have something to tell you. You and I have 2 daughters. Their names are Jessie and Lisa. They are 25 and 14 years old respectively. I'm sorry I didn't tell you this. I wanted to keep it a secret, but I had to tell you because Lisa has leukemia. She needs your bone marrow transplant. Don't worry, I won't destroy your family, and I won't let a third person know about this. Love, Pamela. Kane opened the voice message and said, Lon, I have something to tell you. Everyone's expression froze. They turned to look at Lauren. A murderous glint shot out of Winnip's eyes. Lauren, I need you to explain to me what happened to Pamela. Pamela? How is she still alive? Lauren's face was filled with shock. Winnip's face turned even paler. Not only did Lauren not explain his relationship with Pamela, he even cared about her life and death. This meant that Lauren was tacitly admitting his relationship with Pamela. Winnip knew about Lauren's past and also knew Pamela, but she thought that Lauren and Pamela hadn't contacted each other for more than 20 years. She had almost forgotten this name. But now, she heard this name again. It seemed like Lauren and Pamela hadn't stopped contacting each other. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hidden 2 illegitimate daughters from her. Winnip, that's impossible. Pamela can't still be alive. She's been dead for more than a decade. So you're saying this isn't Pamela's voice? I remember Pamela. This is Pamela's voice. Chapter 1023. Winnip couldn't do anything on the plane, but after getting off, her expression darkened. Won't you tell me? What's going on with Pamela? I can't have any daughters other than Phalai and 4. This is a prank. I said it's a prank. Then what's with the voice? I said it's a prank. Pamela's been dead for 12 years. But this voice is Pamela's, right? The voice is similar, but it's definitely not Pamela. It can't be her. Lauren explained bitterly. Chen also knows about Pamela's death. Are you serious? Yes. Winnip picked up her phone and called Qin Zhao. Hi Chen, it's me Winnip. Hi Winnip. Have you and Lauren arrived in LA? I'm at the airport now. Do you know someone called Pamela? Qin Zhao was silent for a while. Then he said, No. Qin, I want you to answer my question honestly. Do you know Pamela or not? Is Lauren beside you? Lauren was dumbfounded. He immediately understood what was going on. It had to be Chen Zhao. It had to be Chen Zhao. He knew about Pamela's existence and that she'd already passed away. This was a trap he'd set. Just then, Chen Zhao continued, Laurent didn't want me to tell you. Last time he went with me to find this woman called Pamela. Did something happen between them? I don't know. I didn't see that woman. Asterisk Shoal, you asterisk Shoal. You're slandering me. Lon, are you there? Sorry, I can't keep it a secret for you. You asterisk Shoal? Laurent yelled in exasperation. I received another video after the incident. Winnip, do you want it? Send it to me. A while later, Winnip received a video. Winnip opened it. The background was the hospital. In the ICU, a girl was lying on the bed with a tube in her mouth. As everyone knew, as long as one entered the ICU, the mortality rate was more than 95%. That place was the Real Gate to hell. Many patients would rather die than lie in the ICU. The ICU was the intensive care unit. The patient was stripped naked, unable to move, speak, or even breathe. Only the brain was still functioning. It was a very painful process. Then Win Nip entered the camera. Win Nip said to the camera, Lauren, I know you have a happy family now. I don't want to destroy your family, but please, for our relationship, save our child. She needs a bone marrow transplant right now. That's right, Win Nip said. Lauren's face was pale. No amount of explanation could compare to Pamela appearing in front of the camera. He couldn't even deny that it wasn't Pamela. I'm divorcing you, you bastard. Win Nip turned and left angrily. Win Nip, listen to me. Listen to me. Laurent hurriedly chased after her in fear. Just then, Lauren's phone rang. Laurent picked it up. Chen Zhao, you bastard, you bastard. You asked for this. I've prepared a lot of plots for you. I admit defeat, okay? Let me go. Laurent finally gave in. He wanted to cry but had no tears. He could only beg Chen Zhao. Only Chen Zhao could explain it for him now. You promise you won't give me any more trouble in LA? Yes, I promise you, I won't give you any trouble, Laurent hurriedly said. Good boy. When Chen Zhao hung up, Win Nip walked toward him. Win Nip's face was green. Chen Zhao walked up with a smile. But Win Nip slapped him. You went too far this time. You know? Chen Zhao covered his face, embarrassed. Pamela passed away more than 10 years ago. I just happened to know about it. Fine. Chen Zhao shrugged helplessly. He tricked Laurent and got slapped. What a loss. What's with that video? That actress, Chen Zhao said. Didn't you notice that the light in the camera was really dim? But it's really interesting to torment Laurent like this. Don't expose me yet. Win Nip was also a female demon. Chen Zhao had been worried that things would backfire and they'd really get a divorce. Chen Zhao hated Laurent, but there was no hiding the truth. If things really backfired and they got a divorce, Chen Zhao was afraid that Fei Lai would really turn against him. So, Chen Zhao planned to expose her as soon as possible. In the end, Win Nip volunteered to hide it so she could continue tormenting Laurent. How did you find such a similar actress? Even her voice is so similar. You know, I know many Hollywood crews. With makeup and voice processing, it's not that difficult. But you don't even know a woman who died more than 10 years ago. How do you know her voice? This is more complicated. In Hollywood, there's a technique called recognition blurring. When people see images, their first impression is to produce the person's voice. Then, they use a neutral voice processing method. This will cause the voice you hear to automatically associate with the person's appearance. Anyway, it's quite complicated. How long have you been planning this? Not long. I just heard from Kareem that Lauren's starting to scheme against me again, so I started to retaliate. Win Nip knew that Chen Zhao and Laurent didn't get along. However, she didn't pay any attention to them. They could do whatever they wanted to. Chen Zhao told him everything that had happened. Win Nip was completely speechless. Both Laurent and Chen Zhao were losing their bottom lines more and more. Let's go back first. Chen Zhao was quite depressed too, but he was quite confident in his arrangements. In the end, he still couldn't hide it from Win Nip. But this was good too. Things wouldn't really get out of hand. Plus, his original intention was to torment Laurent. Aren't we going to wait for Laurent? Wait for him for what? You want to let him go so quickly? Win Nip glared at Chen Zhao. When they got home, Fei Lai ran out happily. Mom, you're here? Hey, where's Dad? He's busy tonight. He's staying at the hotel, Win Nip said. Why is he staying at the hotel? It's not like we don't have enough rooms. Because it's far from the city. Don't worry about him. Chen Zhao now knew why Win Nip had such a tight control over Lauren. Chapter 1024. Ah, is this little Jerlin? When Win Nip saw Jerlin, her motherly love overflowed. Win Nip was also full of love for little Jerlin. His chubby little face and mouth were moist as he staggered as he ran. Because the temperature had dropped a lot in the past 2 days, Jerlin was dressed like a little ball. Jerlin called Win Nip, but she couldn't speak clearly, so Win Nip couldn't understand. What's she saying? She's speaking Chinese, Grandma, Fei Lai said, smiling. Win Nip loved Jerlin very much. She hugged and kissed her. Grandma. Jerlin didn't know Win Nip, but that was what she called the older ones. She was more familiar with how elders addressed each other now. She would call them that whenever she was free. Just then, Chen Zhao's phone rang. I'll go out and take it. Chen Zhao stood up and walked out. Lawrence's urgent voice came from the other end. Chin, did you explain to Win Nip? Not yet. When? What's the rush? No rush. This can't be rushed. Bullshit, of course you're not rushed. Now Win Nip wants to divorce me, you asterisk shoal. I think you provoked me first. Explain to Win Nip immediately. How would I know? Chen Zhao said unhurriedly. You won't go back on your words after I explain. I swear. You sound like you didn't swear, but I don't see God punishing you. What exactly do you want? I'll explain for you on the day you leave. How can I do that? What if Win Nip wants to divorce me before that? Even if she wants to divorce you, she'll only divorce you after you leave, not in LA. After all, Fei Lai and Four are both here. You asterisk shoal, you're too much this time. You sound like you're not. Chen, I'm begging you. Help me explain to Win Nip. I said no rush. If you don't explain to me, I'll report you to Fei Lai. If you tell Fei Lai, I have an even worse plan waiting for you, Chen Zhao threatened. Chen Zhao was in a great mood. The more anxious Laurent was, the happier he was. Of course, they all abided by a principle. They wouldn't report their fight to Fei Lai. The next day, Chen Zhao happily went to the hotel where Laurent was staying. When Chen Zhao pushed open the door, he smelled alcohol. Noticing Chen Zhao's arrival, Laurent pounced at him with a strange cry. You bastard, you still dare to come? Chen Zhao dodged Laurent's attack. If you keep this up, I'll leave. Laurent sat on the ground and began to cry like a child. You bastard, you've caused me so much trouble. Have you had breakfast? Wait for me, I'll go wash up. Laurent took a shower, changed his clothes, and felt much more refreshed. The two went to the hotel restaurant. Laurent sat across from Chen Zhao and kept looking at him. Chen, what's with that video? That voice and that video, what's going on? Would you believe me if I said it was real? Bullshit, Pamela is dead. Then why do you still ask? You know she's dead, but you still want to get to the bottom of it. Are you still hoping that Pamela is still alive? But what? Do you want to hear that Pamela isn't dead? She's already dead. You already know that. Laurent had seen Pamela's soul before, but then he'd fainted. Laurent couldn't tell if he'd really seen her in a dream. This was what Laurent was most conflicted about. Where did you find someone so similar? Even the voice is so similar. Makeup. What's so hard about that? Speaking of this, Laurent started to blame Chen Zhao again. I don't care. Call Win Nip now and explain everything to her. No. Then I'll call Fei Lai. Fei Lai's already 4 months pregnant. If she finds out that you're divorcing Win Nip, aren't you afraid something will happen? You bastard. Laurent gritted his teeth at Chen Zhao. You always provoke me first. You can't blame me. What about the 2 daughters you prepared for me? What about the little girl in the ICU? What? You're starting to care about them? Does that girl really have leukemia? No, she's faking it. You're such a bastard. You should thank me. I arranged for that eldest daughter of yours that you've never met to be at the airport. If she appeared, you'd probably be killed by Winnip. Laurent shuddered. This bastard was really ruthless. I'm leaving. You're leaving just like that? What else? I'm taking you to LA to play? Are you in the mood to play now? Fuck. You haven't paid yet. Chen Zhao went to the headquarters of the association. Lisa and Jessie had been locked in their room for the past 2 days. They'd been very uneasy. They didn't know what fate awaited them. Would he be silenced after he was done with using him? At this moment, the door to the room was opened. The two girls were like birds startled by the mere twang of a bowstring. They looked at Chen Zhao in fear. You can go now, Chen Zhao said. After using them, it was about time to let them go. However, Chen Zhao's words were like a clap of thunder in their ears. Don't kill us. Don't kill us. We still have value, the two girls cried. They felt that Chen Zhao was going to kill them. Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. Their imaginations were really wild. But he definitely couldn't explain now. Because a person in despair would not listen to an explanation. Fine. You said you still have value, so I'll keep you alive for now, Chen Zhao said. You can't leave Los Angeles without my permission. The bracelet on your wrists should remind you of your situation at all times. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, the two were not sad. Instead, they were overjoyed. Chen Zhao's answer was that they'd found a chance. It was better to be used and controlled than to die. Chen Zhao sent the two to the door. You can go now. The two girls looked at each other and stood there. What? Do we need a ride? How do we go back? We don't know the way. Follow this road. You'll see the road to the city in 20 kilometers. When they heard that it was 20 kilometers, their faces paled. Chapter 10:25. Hey, wait a minute. The two froze in fear and didn't dare to turn their heads. You called? Relieved, they took their phones and ran away from the headquarters as if they were running for their lives. Lisa and Jessie both felt like they had survived a disaster. Just then, Lisa's phone rang. Lisa, where are you? Do you know how much trouble you've caused me in the past few days when you were missing? A woman's angry voice came from the other end of the phone. It was full of anger. Teacher, I'm sorry, Lisa said in a low voice. His originally angry tone suddenly became gentle. Where are you now? I'm on my way back to school. Where are you? I'll pick you up. No, I'll be quick. Where are you? The woman repeated for the third time. I don't know, but I'm walking back to the city, Lisa said. Send me your location. I'll pick you up now. My phone is broken. Lisa didn't want her teacher to pick her up. It was too close to that place. Lisa felt that she might not be out of danger now, so she didn't want her teacher to take risks. When can you come back? About 4 hours. Okay, I'll prepare dinner for you. After Lisa hung up, Jessie said, Is it that annoying woman? I really don't understand. What's so good about her? Isn't it good to follow me? We can make a lot of money and then go wherever we want. And then meet someone like that Asian again? Lisa glanced at Jessie and said sarcastically, It was just an accident. We've worked together dozens of times, and we've never met someone like that before. As long as we're careful, we won't encounter such an unlucky thing again, Jessie said. I don't want to live in fear anymore, Lisa said. You don't want to live again? Do you think you have the right to refuse? Jessie sneered. The bracelets on our hands are still there. We'll always be controlled by that person. Lisa looked at her bracelet. In the end, it's just a remote-controlled bomb. There's always a way to remove it. Even if you remove the bracelet, you can't stay in Los Angeles anymore. You have to leave this city, so you need a lot of money. How can you leave Los Angeles without money? If you continue to live in that woman's house, you will only bring trouble to her family. Jessie said, Think about it. If that Chinese man sees that woman, what do you think will happen to her? Lisa's face became more and more serious. Although Jessie was a liar and cunning by nature, she was right. If he continued to stay by his teacher's side, he would only bring her more trouble. However, if he were to leave, he would need money, a huge sum of money. Do you have any ideas? A way to get a lot of money in a short time? Reese asked. What can I do? Even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. Relying on scams to swindle money was too slow. Lisa began to use her brain, and her thoughts were running at a high speed. Robbing is still the fastest way to get money, Jessie said uninterestedly. An idea suddenly flashed in Reisa's mind. Yes, robbing. Don't be kidding. If the two of us rob, we will only be shot to death, Jessie said. Then find a safe way to rob, Reisa said. Are you serious? Of course I'm serious. Don't you want to participate? It doesn't matter. I can do it alone anyway. Tell me, what are you going to do? Jessie couldn't resist the temptation again and took the initiative to ask. I need a computer, Reisa said, looking at Jessie. Jessie gritted his teeth. How much? As long as it's the highest configuration for civilian use. Obviously, Reisa wanted Jessie to pay for it. Jessie hesitated for a while. You have to tell me what your plan is first, or I won't pay for it. Norton Simon Museum, Reisa said. The exhibits inside are more than $3 billion. We don't need to take all of them. We just need to take an exhibit worth about $1 million. Don't be kidding. That's a national museum. It's impossible to break through the security inside, Jessie said, rolling his eyes. No, there is a way, Reisa said. The exhibits in the Norton Simon Museum are divided into 5 levels. The first level is for exhibits worth more than $10 million. The second level is for exhibits worth less than $10 million and more than $1 million. The third level is between $100,000 and $1 million. This is also our goal. And then, you help me buy a computer, and I'll tell you my plan. You're not lying to me? Do I need to lie to you? I need money, not for a computer. I need a computer to get more money. How much does the computer cost? At least $10,000, Reisa said. So expensive? I don't have that much money. You do. We made a lot of money in the past. You can afford it. No, I really don't. You know how I spend money. Every time I make money, I spend it immediately instead of saving it in the bank. You have money, Reisa said. Reisa said, I know you've always had a reserve fund that you can use when you need it. You little monster are so annoying, Jessie said, looking at Reisa. Although Reisa was not an adult yet, she had a high IQ. This was why they cooperated in the first place. If you want to rob the Norton Simon Museum, wouldn't it be better to rob as expensive as possible? The more things, the better. Do you have such a wide network of people? If we take out millions of dollars or even tens of millions of dollars, I'm afraid that the first person to kill us will be the person who sells the stolen goods. $1 million or so is the safest number. The person who sells the stolen goods needs to protect their reputation. $1 million is not enough for them to abandon their credibility. Besides, I've already said that the collections in the Norton Simon Museum are divided into different levels. The higher the level, the harder it is to break into. With our strength, we can't steal the more valuable exhibits. When do we start this plan? First of all, you have to get the computer. You'd better not buy old goods to save money. That will kill us. Also, we have to take off the bracelet on our hands before we start. Chapter 1026. Lisa returned home. To be exact, it was her teacher's house. Just then, her teacher walked out. Lisa, her teacher, Joe Baylor, looked angry. Do you know I had to call the police because of your disappearance? Lisa stood at the door with her head down. Biting her lip, she knotted her fingers together. Teacher, I'm sorry. Did something happen to you? Tell me. No matter what, I can help you. Teacher, I'm fine. I just went out with friends and lost track of time. What friends? Joe Baylor knew Lisa's age and her personality. She didn't have any friends her age. Because of her high IQ, Lisa had gone to college at the age of 14. Because of that, she barely had any friends her age. After all, children of her age tended to be childish. She couldn't fit in with the older kids. She was ostracized by both groups. So, Joe Baylor was very suspicious of Lisa's claim that she went out with friends. He adopted Lisa when he was 3 years old, but at the age of 3, Lisa had already shown an amazing IQ and a strong memory. So, Lisa always remembered that Joe Baylor wasn't her father. She didn't even want to call him uncle. Of course, Joe Baylor didn't force her. He knew he couldn't force her. Forget it. You must be hungry. Go eat. Joe Baylor shook his head. Since Lisa didn't want to talk about it, she wouldn't say anything no matter how hard he asked. Teacher, I'm sorry. Lisa stuttered for a long time and finally said this. Next time you want to go out, can you tell me? Don't make me worry. Biting her lip, Lisa nodded silently. Joe Baylor said in a low voice, Go to school tomorrow. You shouldn't hang out with those people. You should use your intelligence in more useful places, at least to protect yourself. Lisa looked at Joe Baylor quietly. She knew that Joe Baylor had been worried about her all these years. A decent job might not be able to fulfill your wish, but at least it can make it easier for you, Joe Baylor said. Joe Baylor said, when you save enough money, you can do whatever you want. You're smarter than others, so you have more advantages than others. Teacher, I will study hard. Let's go eat and rest early. Chen, this year's UC sports meet is starting. You'll be the leader today. Right, that's too much, Chen Zhao complained. You didn't even discuss it with me. All right. Chen, do you want to be the leader? No. You see, I was rejected by you when I asked you, so I might as well make a decision directly. I don't have time. Chen, I feel that my body is getting worse and worse. I might not be able to stay as the principal for much longer. I hope that I can improve my performance as much as possible while I'm still here, right? Are you not feeling well? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Of course it's fake. I'm just telling you that if you don't agree, I'll act shamelessly. Right? Have you forgotten my personality? I'm a violent advocate. If you let me lead, I might break the legs of some students. As long as you have a legitimate reason, do as you please. My girlfriend's pregnant. I don't want to leave LA, it's in the San Diego branch campus. It's only a few 100 kilometers away from LA. Your excuse doesn't work. You know that the most important festival for Chinese is Chinese New Year, right? I can't leave, not even to San Diego. I know that China's New Year is on February 5th and the sports meet is on February 17th. Don't tell me there's also the Lantern Festival, or I'll kick your balls. Chen Zhao wanted to cry. Wright had lived in China for more than a decade, so she was no stranger to China's festivals. There are so many PE teachers and professional coaches in the school. It's not appropriate for a medical professor like me to be the leader, right? Not appropriate? You sound like you care about what people say. Plus, aren't you best at defeating others in their area of expertise? Continue to develop your personality. I don't mind you teaching them a lesson. In your Chinese words, teach them how to behave. Right? You're pretty familiar with China's online slang. I'm just keeping up with the times. Forget it. Since Wright is acting shamelessly, I'll take the job. He was just the leader anyway. The results had nothing to do with him. Qin Zhao stretched. Win Nip carried Jerlin and Fei Lai downstairs. Chin, I'm going shopping with Mom. Are you coming? You guys go. Have fun. Chen Zhao had only gone shopping with Fei Lai once. It was on the day of the old house fire. After that, Chen Zhao didn't go shopping with Fei Lai. It was the same for most men and women. Chen Zhao always went to the mall to buy things. Fei Lai, on the other hand, went to the mall to shop. It seemed like all the women in the world were the same. After Win Nip and Fei Lai left, they took Jerlin with them too. They clearly wanted to raise Jerlin into a shopping maniac. Chen Zhao was bored alone, so he went to school. Chen Zhao drove to the school. It was rare that there was an empty parking lot. When Chen Zhao got out of the car, another car was parked beside him. Two people got out of the car. Chen Zhao turned to look at them and they nodded at him. However, when the other person saw Chen Zhao, his expression changed. How could it be him? Why was he here? Risa's face was pale and she broke out in a cold sweat. Did he know what she was thinking? Did Jessie betray her? Did he want to get rid of her? Chen Zhao was also surprised to see Risa here. Hello, Professor Chen. Hello, you are? Huh, I'm from the math department, but I'm only an associate professor. Smiling, Joe Baylor said, I'm Joe Baylor. You can call me Joe. Hello, Professor Joe. Chen Zhao looked at Risa. Is she your daughter? Yes, she's also a student. Joe Baylor looked at Risa with pride in his eyes. Hello, little girl. Chen Zhao gave her a meaningful smile. Hello. Risa swallowed and her voice became unnatural. I'm going to be late for class. Bye. Bye. Risa pulled Joe Baylor away, but she could still feel Chen Zhao's gaze on her back. Risa, do you like China-Chen? I don't even know him, Risa answered. I felt your nervousness just now. Nervousness is mainly caused by love or fear. That's why I think you might like him, Joe Baylor said with a smile. He seemed to think his speculation was accurate. Yes, very accurate. However, the reason for Risa's nervousness was another answer. Teacher, is that China-Chen also a professor at UCLA? Chapter 1027. Every professor has class hours, right? He's a special professor, Xiao Baylor said. Also, this China-Chen has a very violent tendency. Risa raised an eyebrow. What about him? He once broke a professional boxer's arm in front of dozens of students, Xiao Baylor said. He also beat up more than 20 UCSF students and sent them to the hospital. It happened a year ago. This guy was indeed violent. How can the school keep someone like him? His reason is very reasonable, Xiao Baylor said. That professional boxer challenged him and seriously injured his student. This guy is too dangerous, Risa thought. Being a university professor is just a disguise. Xiao Baylor patted her shoulder. What are you thinking about? I should go to class. Risa quickly walked into the building. Chen Zhao strolled in the school stadium. No matter what time it was, there would always be students training in the stadium. Or maybe they were in PE class. The 10,000-meter runner Grint that Chen Zhao knew had already graduated. Apparently, he'd entered the professional circle and become a professional athlete. Chen Zhao found a seat and sat down, watching the students train. Just then a track coach ran over. Hi, China-Chen. Chen Zhao raised his head and looked at the middle-aged black man wearing a baseball cap. Hi, pardon my rudeness, but you are? I'm Ku Ong from the track and field club. I'm a coach. I train all the track and field clubs. I heard that you're the team leader for this year's UC sports meet? You know? Chen Zhao was surprised. Yes, Kuang said. The principal just gave the notice. I'm here this time to get the list of participating students from the track and field club, Chen Zhao said. Of course, Kuang said. I'll send you the list later. What did a team leader do? Simply put, it was a manager. Chen Zhao wasn't in charge of the students' results or who participated. However, he had the right to decide who didn't participate. For example, if someone broke the rules in the team, he had the right to ban them from participating. Generally speaking, the team leader was a highly respected coach or a physical education teacher. However, Chen Zhao didn't care who was convinced. The track and field club was the largest sports club in the school. Chen Zhao had thought that the track and field club would be the most resistant. She didn't expect Kuang to accept her so easily. Mr. Kuang, do you have any objections to me being the leader? You were Evely's coach and trained a legendary athlete. I don't think I have the qualifications to object. Kuang was a realistic person. Because Chen Zhao had indeed raised a professional champion. No matter how much effort Chen Zhao had put in, it meant that he had the right to be the leader. But I heard that the coach of the basketball club is very dissatisfied with this, and the basketball club's coach, Robert, is encouraging his club's players to protest to the school by going on strike, Kuang said. Chen Zhao was surprised. He couldn't tell if Kuang was reminding him out of goodwill or just fanning the flames. Thanks for the reminder. Chen Zhao stood up. I'll go check out the basketball club. Maybe they have some misunderstanding about me. Chen Zhao walked toward the basketball court. It was Chen Zhao's first time in a basketball arena. When Chen Zhao entered the basketball court, an intra-team match was going on. A white coach was giving instructions on the sidelines. He should be Robert. When Chen Zhao reached the sidelines, Robert also saw him. Robert blew the whistle to stop the match. At the same time, he strode toward Chen Zhao. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. Do you think I'm an outsider? Chen Zhao looked at Robert. Chen Zhao could sense intense hostility from his tone. Of course, Robert said matter-of-factly. Apart from the basketball club, no one else can enter? Then what are they? Chen Zhao pointed at the audience. There were some students watching. There was also a couple flirting. They're sitting in the audience, Robert said. I allow spectators, but I don't allow outsiders to enter the school. In that case, I'll inform you that you're fired. From now on, you're no longer the basketball club's coach. You're an outsider now, right? Chen Zhao looked at Robert with a smile. Robert scoffed. Do you have the right? Chen Zhao took out his phone and called right. My dear principal, I'll make my request now. Either I leave, or you fire the basketball club's coach. Soon, Chen Zhao hung up with a satisfied smile. Mr. Robert, you're no longer a staff member or the basketball club's coach. You're fired. No, you can't do this. Robert didn't expect Chen Zhao to be so domineering and kick him out like this. Not only that, but he'd also been stripped of his job. No, I can do this. Chen Zhao walked to the center of the basketball court. Chen Zhao didn't care if the players looked at him with kindness or hostility. He glanced at everyone. Listen up, you idiots. If you think you can pressure the school by going on strike, you'll only get disappointed. I don't care if you're willing to participate or not. I don't even care if the basketball team participates. But when I'm the team leader, I won't let anyone who's my enemy have a good time. He's an example. Asian, do you know basketball? How can you lead us? How can you be the leader of the school team? A black student shouted. He was clearly feeling unfair for Robert. I don't need to know basketball. I know so many things that you'll never be able to beat me. For example, boxing, swimming, and track. Chen Zhao looked at the black student. Can you only lead a team if you know basketball? Since you suspect me, then you don't need to be on my team. Not only that, I will investigate your class schedule, your credits, and your conduct. If you don't meet even the slightest requirement, I will get the school to expel you, just like that idiot. Chen Zhao pointed at Robert. The black student's face was already dark. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, his expression darkened even more. If anyone still wants to go against me, you can say it now. I'll be happy to fulfill your wish. Fight it out on the basketball court if you can. Don't be stupid. Is challenging an amateur the pride of your basketball club? Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. Fight it out in the ring if you can. That's a man's game. If you dare to step into the ring, not only can I guarantee that you'll lose your career, but I can also destroy your life. That's right. No one dared to speak anymore. Chapter 1028. Chen Zhao glanced at Robert. This is the result of going against me. Are you happy now? I'm going to report you to the school. Robert gritted his teeth at Chen Zhao. He'd been the team leader last year, so he felt that he had the qualifications to be the leader this year. To him, Chen Zhao was just an outsider. He didn't have the right to be the leader. That was why he'd encouraged the basketball players to protest to the school by going on strike. However, he never dreamed that the consequence of doing so would be his immediate dismissal. These players had previously vowed to advance and retreat together with Robert. But after Chen Zhao announced his arrival in such a domineering way, no one dared to go against him anymore. Chen Zhao picked up the basketball from the ground and glanced at the rim. He stood up, dribbled the ball, and charged straight at the rim. Clang! The bulletproof glass of the basket shattered, and Chen Zhao broke off the frame. Chen Zhao clapped his hands. I'll get someone to fix it. All the players' faces were ashen. No one dared to go against Chen Zhao anymore. Regardless of whether Chen Zhao was good at basketball or not, they'd probably be bedridden for a few months if Chen Zhao had a reasonable clash with them. Robert quickly caught up to Chen Zhao. Mr. Chen, wait for me. Robert didn't care about being the leader anymore. He just wanted to keep his job. Is there anything else? Mr. Robert. Mr. Chen, it's my fault. Please forgive me. It's all my fault. I apologize. Chen Zhao rubbed his chin. He'd come to the basketball club to establish his authority. He'd already established his authority. But forgiving Robert now was a bit anticlimactic. Why should I forgive you? Mr. Chen, my family has hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans. My entire family relies on my job. I have 4 kids. I can't not have this job. Please. For most Americans, losing a job meant losing everything. It was very difficult to find a suitable and well-paid job. I need a spy, Chen Zhao said calmly, glancing at Robert. Robert had no other choice now. He was easily controlled by Chen Zhao. Many people in the school's sports club definitely wouldn't accept him. Without hesitation, Robert accepted Chen Zhao's request. Mr. Chen, I'll be happy to help you. Very willing? Chen Zhao sneered inwardly. If it wasn't for the fact that she had the power to decide his life and death, he would probably still be at odds with her. Go look after your basketball club. I don't want to hear any objections. Then, Chen Zhao went to a few other sports clubs. Every coach was obedient to Chen Zhao, as if they were his loyal admirers. Evely walked up to him as soon as he left the baseball club. Hi, Evely. Chen, I heard that you're the leader of the sports competition now? Yeah, what for? I'm going to participate in the competition. I just wanted to let you know. You? Participate in the competition. Don't bully primary school students like this. You're going too far. No, I want to participate, Evely said seriously. Is it fun to compete with those amateurs? Bullying people is fun in itself. Besides, relaxing a little before the World Championship is also a good form of entertainment. Chen Zhao was speechless. Evely was the holder of many world records. Participating in the university sports meet was an act of bullying. Whatever. It's up to you. I can't stop you anyway. Chen Zhao left the campus and received a call from Ethan. Chen, I have a big client. $300,000. Okay, send me the address. Chen Zhao didn't have many regular jobs anymore, but he still received big clients every time. They were generous and most of them were expensive. After half an hour's drive, Chen Zhao arrived at a stadium. The stadium was very famous in LA. It was called Staples Center. After Chen Zhao parked the car, he was stopped by the security guard just as he was about to enter. Sir, the stadium is not open right now. I'm a doctor, Chen Zhao said. My client is here. May I ask who your client is? My client only gave me his phone number. Then you can only call your client and have him pick you up. I can't let you in. Chen Zhao had no choice but to call his client. Oh, sir. I received a request. I'm your private doctor. I heard that you need a doctor right now, right? I'm at the entrance of Staples Center in LA. I was stopped by the security guard. Wait for me at the entrance. I'll pick you up now. A while later, a young man with white hair and beard walked out, looking travel-worn. You're the doctor? Yes, sir. Come in with me, the man said. I'm Simpson. You can call me Chin. I'm from China. How much do you know about external injuries? Simpson asked. I can treat most of them, Chen Zhao answered. I hope what you see later won't appear in the headlines the next day. Of course. I'm the best in this industry. That's probably why you called me. I have my own professional ethics. That's good. Chen Zhao felt that Simpson was probably famous too. However, Chen Zhao wasn't very familiar with him. Simpson brought Chen Zhao to a lounge. Before he even opened the door, he could hear shouting and cursing inside. However, when Simpson opened the door, the cursing stopped abruptly. In the lounge, there were 2 black men with bloody noses and swollen faces. The 2 of them had probably fought with each other not long ago. You 2 souls. It's already like this and you still won't stop? Simpson roared. Mr. Chun, please take a look at their injuries. Are they all basketball players? You don't know them? Sorry, I'm not interested in basketball. I prefer to read gossip about Hollywood stars, Chen Zhao said calmly. However, Chen Zhao recognized their uniforms. They were HR jerseys. Me too, buddy. Which star do you like? One of the black men asked. Yafin and Lucy. They're all my favorite female stars, Chen Zhao said. He turned to Simpson. Isn't your team doctor working today? For a team as large as HR, they didn't just have a team doctor. They had an entire medical team. Chapter 1029. Lie down, Chen Zhao said to the player before him. When the player lay down, he seemed to be struggling. Chen Zhao reached out and touched the player's chest. Your third rib is broken? When the player heard this, he was furious. Fuck, Ruby, you ruined my season. You asked for it, the player called Ruby retorted. I'm going to fuck you to death, you asterisk shoal. The player who'd been lying down jumped up again. Ignoring his injury, he wanted to fight Ruby. Chen Zhao stopped the player while Simpson stopped Ruby. Behave, you two asterisk holes. Simpson's head was about to split open. These two asterisk holes had bad tempers and even worse behavior. Because on the court, Duba didn't pass the ball to Ruby. In the end, the two started fighting in the locker room. If you keep moving and your broken ribs pierce into your lungs, Chen Zhao warned. It won't just be your season that'll be ruined. It might even be your career. How long will it take for me to recover? Duba asked. Rest well. You'll be able to start rehabilitation in a week at most. A week? Mr. Chen, his ribs are broken. Are you sure a week is enough? That's why I'm the best in Chen Zhao said. Glancing at Simpson, he said, if I don't have the ability, why would you pay me $300,000? Ruby and Duba were also dumbfounded when they heard that Chen Zhao was paid $300,000 for this trip. Even though they were NBA players and had salaries that normal people couldn't hope to reach. But it was impossible for them to get $300,000 for a trip. You seem to have old injuries. Chen Zhao lifted Duba's right arm and pinched the muscles in his lower arm. Do you feel any muscle soreness here when you play? That's normal, right? Duba asked. Of course it's not normal. It's a sign of muscle fatigue, which can lead to muscle strain, Chen Zhao said. Also, if your muscle fatigue can't be relieved, your exercise volume will decrease greatly. Simpson glanced at Duba and said, Mr. Chen, Duba has been substituted in less than 30 minutes in recent matches. Is that the reason? Chen Zhao nodded. But it's a small problem. I'll give you acupuncture to clear your channels. Sir, I also need treatment. Come and treat me quickly, Ruby shouted. Chen Zhao was setting Duba's bones and didn't have time to talk to Ruby. I'm calling you, can you hear me? I'm healing your teammate, Chen Zhao said, tilting his head. Can't you see? His net worth isn't even half of mine. Even if someone were to be treated, I would be the one to treat him first. Your injuries aren't as bad as his, Chen Zhao said indifferently. I don't care. Treat me now. Ruby pulled his shoulder. Shrugging his shoulders, Chen Zhao said to Simpson, Mr. Simpson, you better control your players. Chen Zhao had always heard that NBA players were all problematic. Fighting, jealousy, eating, drinking, whoring, gambling, everything. They were also wasteful. Many players had a base salary of 10 or 20 million, but when they retired, they would be bankrupt. Ruby, you better behave yourself. Simpson went up to Ruby. But Ruby was 197 meters tall. Simpson couldn't pull him. Ruby shook off Simpson and tried to grab Chen Zhao again. But Chen Zhao dodged Ruby's hand. At the same time, he grabbed Ruby's neck, pulled him up, and pressed him to the ground. Bang! Ruby felt like his body was falling apart. Chen Zhao slapped Ruby's face. Big guy, maybe you don't understand me, so let's talk in another way. Do you want to stop the season too? Ruby's face stiffened. What? Seeing Ruby fall to the ground, Simpson hurried over to stop Chen Zhao. Mr. Chen, I asked you to treat my players, not to hurt them. He asked for it, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Then, Chen Zhao turned around and continued treating Duba. Seeing that Chen Zhao had taught Ruby a lesson, Duba's eyes brightened. He gloated and said, Mr. Chen, good job. Since he wasn't the one getting beaten up, he was obviously happy to see it. You better behave too. Chen Zhao finished the initial treatment for Duba. You can go down now. You come here and lie down. Mr. Chen, didn't you say you were going to treat my muscles? Acupuncture can't be done that fast. Let him treat you first, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Big guy, you don't want to come over? Ruby walked to Chen Zhao with a dark expression. You're the one who caused my injury. So? Ruby glared at Chen Zhao, gritting his teeth. But in the end, he still lay down before Chen Zhao. Turn over. I'll look at your back. Chen Zhao had pressed Ruby to the ground with a lot of force. Ruby's left shoulder blade showed signs of fracture. However, when Chen Zhao smeared the potion on Ruby's shoulder blade, Ruby moaned in pleasure. So comfortable. Okay, you can turn around. Give me some more ointment. I told you to turn around. Chen Zhao said with a dark expression. Give me some more ointment, just a little. Seeing that Ruby was acting shamelessly again, Chen Zhao reached out and pinched Ruby's shoulder. Ruby screamed in pain. Chen Zhao had never seen such a troublesome patient before. You're not gentle at all. You must be single, Ruby cursed. Chen Zhao couldn't be bothered with Ruby, but he was a lot more ruthless when treating him. Ruby kept screaming and didn't stop. All kinds of trash talk came out of his mouth. Chen Zhao didn't know if he was talking to Chen Zhao. It was said that black people were good at running their mouths. Ruby really did it. He didn't repeat anything from beginning to end. Okay, don't do any strenuous exercise for 3 days, Chen Zhao said. Come here. I'll give you muscle decompression treatment. Half an hour later, Chen Zhao stood up. Take these 2 bottles of ointment. Apply it on your wounds once a day. You can apply it on your arms too. It's not bad. Mr. Chen, give me your account number. Chen Zhao gave it to Simpson. Hurry up and transfer the money to my account. Of course. Simpson nodded. As Ruby applied the ointment, he moaned in comfort. So comfortable. Mr. Chen, can you sell me another bottle of this? 200,000 per bottle. Do you want it? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.